has more than 15 YouTube channels and about 3 million subscribers. Our main channel has 1.854 or 1,854,000 plus subscribers. Now, they've been gaming the system for a long time to shut down nationalistic or patriotic media, saying we're right-wingers, saying we're extremists. Well, it doesn't matter who we are. We have a right to free speech, don't we? As long as we don't violate the rules. Well, now Zuckerberg has come out and said he's going to restrict conservative news like communist China does, calling it fake news. And Google, that owns YouTube, has announced, and they've done it now 2 weeks ago, that they're going to basically make you click the bell in your notifications. We're going to show you how to do that, or you won't get all the channels that you've subscribed to, and you won't get the videos. Now, why are they doing this? It's more than just censoring. They want you to see the videos that they feed you below and beside the videos you're looking at that are corporately sponsored so they make more money. They're taking the you out of YouTube. So we're in this information war, and it's more important than ever that you promote the videos, that you like the videos, and that you send them on to others. Because the answer to the attempt to shut us down and restrict free speech that's openly now happening is for us to redouble our efforts. We're winning the culture war as true classical liberals that made this country great. We're restoring the Renaissance. So again, if you want to get our videos, so you can make your decision whether you want to see them or not. After all, that's why you subscribed. YouTube's had this since they started 12 years ago or whatever it was. And they're fundamentally changing it so you don't get it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is promoting fake news and trash news and establishment news. It's killing real independent news. But we, the people, by taking action, can break the back of this system. So please click on the bell so you get the notifications and so you get in your feed the videos and channels you've subscribed to. I'm Alex Jones for Infowars.com. All right, we weren't going to publish all of this, but it really should be a big news story. Not that we need big news stories. It doesn't really do anything to be in the news because hardly anybody even pays attention to mainstream news. But it is important in the history of the internet. We have the folks that do MasterCard, Visa, Walmart, Google, you name it, for their internet security. The internet attack started against us on Friday, and it ran through last night. And then we just upgraded a bunch of stuff. And they said, it's kind of fun for the folks involved. They said, okay, if there's one bigger, it'll be basically the biggest DDoS attack ever using, those bots that they hijack computers. I'm not an IT guy and go after people. But we've got the graphs, the numbers, all of it. Now they're launching an attack that the FBI is looking at, a bunch of other people are looking at, and it's believed this is the biggest DDoS attack using web bots that's ever happened. And it's pointed directly at the communist Chinese. So they are at cyber war with this country. That's well known. They're the ones that do most of the hacking, most of the attacking. Now, our sites are secure. They've not been penetrated. A few weeks ago when WikiLeaks was getting attacked and shut down, folks struck back, patriots from here in the United States is the word we got, and shut down a bunch of East Coast major hubs and websites. That was going in and shutting them off. This is just brute force, massive attack. And it's got to cost like $500,000, the experts say, because this is what mafias use, you name it, to activate all these computers, people's home computers, printers, you name it, surveillance cameras, servers. A lot of folks don't watch those and don't know they've been hijacked. You've got to watch them and see if they've been spiking or if they're not working right. And they've just got tens of thousands of those trying to hammer and shut down Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com, and also our shopping carts, obviously. And that's where they've had some success. It's great, though. I came on air last night, talked about the fact that we lost a lot of money because Christmas is when we tend to go into the black and fund new projects in the next year. And so every day is an employee we can't hire or equipment we can't buy or trips we won't be able to take to document things for you. When we're talking about $40,000 a day being lost the last days before Christmas. But everybody took action, took advantage of the extended sales, InfoWarsStore.com, the free shipping and everything. And we actually just about made back what we lost, not quite. So I had to up some bandwidth things and some security funding as well. But we'll just have a whole fundraiser and raise 10 times what's needed just to teach the attackers that every time they attack, we just get stronger, they get weaker. And the communist China's panicking right now. So I've got a message to communist China straight ahead. 31 days until the inauguration of the 45th president of the United States. But the globalists are pulling out all the stops, attempting to reverse our desperate move to restore the republic and pull our country out of the clutches of the multinational globalist crime syndicate. It's Monday, December 19th, 2016. I'm Alex Jones, your host. We have incredible news to break down. This is the day that the electors in 50 states are to cast their ballots. Across the country, they are moving to get Republican electors to be faithless. As you know, the death threats, the home visits are exploding while they have Nancy Pelosi's daughter hitting the streets with fake news all over TV, not just Fox News, but you name it, in newspapers everywhere saying, I'm sending people to hurt her. I've called for violence. No proof, no quotes, all lies. They're attacking. They're threatening. They're going to the houses. The folks from the Democrats are death-threatening Republicans. That's in the news. Even CNN admits it. But meanwhile, they turn themselves into victims, saying that I'm attacking them. Now, notice, it's the White House currently. It's Hillary. It's the George Soros-funded Media Matters are now attacking yours truly more than Rush Limbaugh, more than Matt Drudge, more than Stephen Bannon. And by the way, I don't want this distinction. I'm always talking about the other leaders and the other great people, and they are great leaders. But a lot of them reach more folks than I do overall. But I put out the counter talking points that are the most effective. I'm the voice. I'm the person rousing the crowd to resist all over the world, and they can't stand it. I've been very critical of the communist Chinese who've infiltrated our country, who are buying up Hollywood, all 6 major studios, who are censoring the internet, who are calling in PC World, in the Washington Post, in the LA Times, in the New York Times, in the Wall Street Journal. I covered it all the last few weeks to censor the internet. And they're advising the takeover. I've got the stacks I covered yesterday and more, from Forbes to you name it, admitting it's the communist Chinese that are allied with the robber barons, with the globalists, with the Rockefellers to take this country over politically and economically and through the media. They're hiring former Stasi as well to help police the EU media. You cannot make this up. Doing business the Chinese way, Facebook develops a censorship tool from the communist Chinese. Forbes. So I'm the only person putting out the actual analysis, just like I had Sheriff Arpaio on your stand. I said, sir, did you know the UN, under a Strong Cities initiative, is funding the police review boards to take over the departments? And he goes, no, I didn't know that, but I know they're taking over and they're anti-American and it's a foreign force. And so I sent them a bunch of Breitbart articles, but even Associated Press articles with Lynch, the outgoing Attorney General, saying we're going to come in and take over departments under UN command. I mean, this is going on, people. So they intended this takeover once Hillary got in to finish the job. But by you taking action and all the rest of it, speaking out, Trump barely got in with an electoral landslide, but lost by 2 million votes, they claim, because of millions of illegals voting. I mean, the numbers are there. And so they're still trying to take over. But notice they use military technology. By military technology, I mean in propaganda. They use dark propaganda, black propaganda, as it's called, where they go, we need to overturn this election in a coup because Trump's trying a coup. We go, well, that's not nice, Pelosi. How dare you death threaten me? It's not a coup. No one wants to overturn the election. They're all over the news. Overturn it, overturn it, overturn it. Saturday Night Live, you name it, overturn it, overturn it. Meanwhile, no one's trying to overturn an election. That's un-American. But you just said you want to. Shut up, crazy person. Sit down and shut up, or I'll call you names. You're bullies. And so I've got all this incredible news to break down today. We've had hacks before, years ago, as we've upped our security. You know, a guy got in like 15 years ago and put a naked lady on a motorcycle on our front page. I thought it was kind of tasteful hack in a way. It wasn't anything vulgar, particularly bad. A lot of times it's people helping us. Hey, I just shut your website down. Give me a call. Wow, how'd you do it? Well, here's how I did it, and here's how you fix it. There's a lot of great hackers, great patriots. It's the hackers that have been defeating Hillary and the globalists, the whole WikiLeaks. I've said the white hat hackers and the leakers are the MVPs of 2016 global victories against consolidation by the New World Order. You are the spearhead of the truth. By and large, you know, I'd say 90% of hackers are the best people out there. The communist Chinese and their, quote, dark army, though, are the biggest, most powerful group in the world, probably more powerful than even the giant NSA grids, which have a lot of good people actually working in the NSA that have been leaking the intel on the election and WikiLeaks and more. But the communist Chinese and their president have openly said that America's finished. They've said you'll never be great again. These are quotes. Your greatness will never return. That's in the People's Daily. Ha, ha, ha. You'll never get your jobs. It's China's century. It's over for you. It's all very aggressive. China is super aggressive to black people, super hateful towards other Asian groups, one of the most homogeneous racial groups genetically on the globe. They're more genetically similar than even your average Jew. They are the most homogeneous, racially, quote, pure group out there. I'm not bashing Chinese, folks. Let's just be honest. They're funding political correctness moves in our country. They are literally taking us over. Kissinger and the globalists made deals with them in the 70s. The Bushes made deals with them. Soros has made deals. All the usual suspects have used China. They've allowed them to steal their intellectual property. They've allowed them to have no environmental standards, lower taxes, all designed to migrate everything over to China. Then they weren't supposed to build a big military, though, and expand outside of China. They've broken that deal. So patriots in the Pentagon and intelligence agencies and the general public said, okay, we were setting up globalism for global peace. We were conned. Alex Jones is right. Stephen Bannon is right. Donald Trump is right. Ron Paul is right. Matt Drudge is right. WorldNet Daily is right. We're launching a counteroffensive. We've barely seized part of the country back. They're going into total meltdown. Race war meltdown. Division meltdown. Overthrow the election meltdown. Assassinate Donald Trump meltdown. So we get denial of service attacks and botnet attacks and bot swarm attacks about 3 times a month. And usually it's out of China. Sometimes it's Homeland Security testing stuff out. Sometimes it's private hackers. But the really big ones are very, very expensive because you got to have hackers spend a lot of time putting out viruses, putting out systems to hijack home computers, to hijack other internet devices and the Internet of Things, and to be able to turn those around as weapons. So just understand, when we hit the alarm button, you can believe it's big, because I don't ever do this dealing with hacking. It's just part of life, and we try to upgrade and get better and better. So Chinese firms officially work with the government and admit it's their, quote, civic duty to hack America and Europe and just attack our banks, steal credit card money, you name it. Then the Russians get the blame. And, of course, they do it, too, but maybe 1/20th. Chinese firm admits it hacked DVR's cameras were behind Friday's massive DDoS attack. Now, that's just from a few weeks ago. Okay, and again, that's out of PC World and other publications. So our top experts are saying, yes, it's China, bot swarm attacks, and I'm not the technical guy, I'll go to some technical guys here in a minute, that are mass swarming through U.S. systems, U.S. Home computers, the Internet of Things, your digital camera that's hooked up to the Internet, your printer, your refrigerator, your washing machines. They're all on the Internet now, slamming InfoWars, Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com. Our shopping carts. We have a backup shopping cart. In fact, I'm going to give you that address as well. They know, it's no secret, that we go into the black the last few weeks of December. That's when we go from just paying the bills to profitable to be able to get more reporters, more crew members, and expand, hopefully, instead of contracting. And there's natural attrition because folks get other jobs or they move on or, they get married or whatever. So we're trying to expand, not contract. And so they know, I'm going to skip this break because we won't be here soon if this doesn't get stopped. There's massive moves to censor the Internet. There's massive moves run by the Chinese to shut down the alt-right. They openly, in our newspapers, lecture us a foreign power. That's how pathetic we are. It's how brokeback we are. It's how trained we are to be pimped, to be slapped, to have cultural, societal cigarettes put out on our eyeballs. That's what's figuratively going on here. We're trying to get our fighting spirit back to say no. We have traitor collaborators in our government. So we're speaking the real truth here, the real battle plan of the enemy. And I guess they think if they financially hurt us, I'm going to shut up. I'm going to go completely ape on China now. And I'm going to add more servers, more shopping carts, fundraisers, and I will double whatever damage they do before I stop. And our listeners will as well. In fact, we're not hiring 5 new reporters. We're hiring 10 now. And we're not hiring 5 more writers. We're hiring 10 now. And I'm not buying just more equipment. I'm building a new studio, and I'm going to get on more satellites and more TV stations. I'm going to work even harder and commit even more now because of this. Guaranteed. You can guarantee. I've never even borrowed money. They say at the bank, I've got $20 million credit right now down the street at like 3% interest. How you like that? You can't stop. I've never borrowed money to build all this, dumbasses. You cut one hydra off, 55 grow back. So let's continue here. Our people, I'm not going to list who they are, but they're I mean, it's the big companies that do Time Warner, that do Walmart, that do MasterCard, Visa. And you notice the Chinese can take those down sometimes when they want. That just makes us beef up what we've got. So that's what's going on. And they said if they take down InfoWarsStore.com again, it will be the biggest DDoS attack in history that they've ever seen. And this has got the government involved, the FBI, you name it. This is like one for the record books, okay? It's like, let me go back to the cheesy analogy of Pacific Rim, like the biggest level 5 kaiju comes out of the ocean. The Chinese already had all our power plants shut down, so we can't compete. They already had, and now they've taken over Hollywood. I mean, they're just in our face, laughing, so arrogant, the People's Daily. You can look it up. They actually said 2 weeks ago, your greatness will never return. You are broken. We rule you now. Ha, ha, ha. They didn't say the ha, ha, ha part. It was just like in a total, ha, 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 ha. I've got the I pulled it, the Wall Street Journal, PC World, all of them right here in front of me, where they came out 2 weeks ago. I'm going to read them again today and said, now you see we are correct to censor your fake news. In fact, we should arrest the people. Good. Now you see. Yeah, you're a Buddhist online talking to other Buddhists. They arrest you, put you in a prison, take your liver, kill you. And our media just goes, oh, there's some new rules coming in. You're not going to see InfoWars anymore. The globalists know that part of the federal government's been taken back. So they go to the Chinese to do this, folks. They had the EU 2 weeks ago call for censoring the internet. You notice it's now started. So we're not gonzo journalism, but we are the story here. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to give you the details with Anthony Gucciardi and Tim Frugier. But we're going to give you the P.O. box. We're going to give you the phone system where you can call. We've only got 5 or 6 people here, but during the day, we take the calls and the orders. If you want to call and get free shipping, I'm still keeping that in place. And if you want to get products as much as 50% off, like a little silver, we're going to extend the biggest sales ever right through the week. But I'm going to do something else. I'm going to create a pack of the products that is at regular price for folks that want to call and pay regular price to help fund the tip of the spear, the entire spearhead in the fight against the globalists. So I'm announcing the special now. I see Tim Frugier there. I can see him on the TV monitor in the studio typing into the crew across the street in the other building. But we're going to create something that is at regular retail for people to call who want to go ahead and make a donation and get the high-quality products and fight back against the communist Chinese and the big think tanks and the foundations that are being investigated for being behind this. Because our government's known for a long time that certain foundations work with the communist Chinese and have been involved in all sorts of hacking attacks in America and espionage against U.S. intelligence agencies. To understand how close certain criminal groups are to the Chinese, and they use them as their muscle. So again, all they're doing is making us heroes. All they're doing is proving to everybody how important Infowars.com is. Now, they haven't been able to bring down Infowars.com yet. But because there's a bunch of security stuff on the shopping carts, that's what they're able to hit with those extra lines of defenses. We have the highest, rating of online security to purchase. So the sites are fine to order from. It's that they're trying to block you even getting on them. So we have a backup site. As soon as we announce that, they'll attack that. We're going to just start turning on other backup sites in Leapfrog. And just when those shopping carts go up, it is an act of total defiance. Other talk show hosts of the radio show this big would have a private jet in a 20-room mansion. Okay, I'm thinking of downsizing from a 4-bedroom because it's so annoying to have a medium-sized house. I don't care about houses. I don't care about red carpets. I don't care about power in this globalist world. I want to overturn the globalist world that is squatting like a giant succubus on the chest of humanity. I want to restore the republic. I want to restore the Renaissance. And I want people in China, where they have thousands of riots a month and valiantly stand up to the corrupt communist Chinese regime that our criminal government under the Rockefellers put in power in 1949. I want to apologize to the Chinese people and the Russian people that Americans allowed the Bolshevik Revolution to be financed out of New York City and out of Goldman Sachs. It's a fact. Look it up. I want to apologize for the fact that we put these plagues on you, and I want you to get out from under it. I want to get out from under it, whether it's Brexit or Russia pulling out of globalism or China pulling out via its people. Your communist leaders are pig-like monsters that have been bleeding you and feeding on you, and you have no rights, and the media spins it that I'm anti-Chinese. No, I understand you come from a class system, also a very racist system, because it's always been classes for 5,000 years. But you're hardworking, smart people that need to be free, and I want to see you free. We're all in this together. So I'm not the Chinese people's enemy, okay? You know that. But I am upset about the wickedness and the evil alliance between the UN, the EU, and China, and they all ganged up on Donald Trump and our movement, and we're not going to be stopped. Ignoring Brexit vote only makes the people in the UK stronger to fight. It's the animating contest of liberty. The spirit of liberty's been ignited. You will not stop us. So everybody that wants to call and make a straight donation over the phone, that's fine. Whether it's $10, $100, or $1,000, or $10,000, wealthy and middle-class people better start bellying up. Like when I paid upwards of $80,000. It was 85, I think, actually, to put airplanes all in the sky saying Hillary for president to create that meme. Notice she lost. I mean, I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I'm taking the money as weapon systems, as war bonds, as more bombs to load in our aircraft, figuratively, to take out the enemy emplacements. We're here. This is ammunition. So InfoWarsStore.com is down. We'll give you the backup. It's going to be sluggish because it's under attack as well. I said they'll find it. They already have. Then we also have the toll-free number for you to call, 888-253-3139. That's 888-253-3139. I want to thank you all for your support because this is a war. This is what World War III looks like. It's economic, it's cyber, it's cultural. 888-253-3139. And you can, again, call, and we got a lot of specials, a lot of free shipping. This isn't about Christmas now, even though everywhere in the lower 48, you can still get it delivered by Friday or Saturday before Christmas if you order today. They're trying to stop us, again, from funding ourselves and, trying to bully us into submission, and it's not going to work. It's going to make me focus more on capital raising. In fact, I'll tell you a story. When we got hacked about 11 years ago and demonized and attacked a bunch of other ways, I was going to stay small with about 6, 7 employees. Tim Frugier was there at the time, so was Rob Jacobson. I was going to stay very, very small, and I just wanted to be somebody that put out information. I noticed, though, they were trying to destroy me, and I realized big fish eat little fish. I needed to grow because they kept demonizing us, saying we were trying to get big, we were trying to do this and that, but we were failures. And I said, I'm going to show you how you get big. I said it on air. And now I'm going to show everybody how you get even bigger. We're going to double in the next year. We've already tripled our audience the last year, but we're going to double in our firepower, our investigative journalism. We're going to blast our way out, even though we're still dominating. When I say blast our way out, I mean to the next level. So you want to fight? You got one. And we're going to basically just absolutely go all China all the time now, because we're the ones putting the talking point out. Trump gets it, and it is China teamed up with the Democrats to bring this country down, lecturing us through Hollywood and newspapers that we can't have Donald Trump. It is outrageous. We're not involved in your politics. And of course, everybody knows that China secretly hates Russia more than us. They've had wars many times, and that they're trying to get the United States organized into a war with Russia. So is a lot of other countries like Saudi Arabia. So that's all happening. Now, Anthony Gucciardi and Tim Frugier both work with our IT people. And I think we should now get Paul involved, or Gucci, you can do it. Paul has been responding today. I think he might be on vacation, well-deserved. And we need to get a story out on this with all the details that the cyber folks said we could put out, because this is newsworthy. So Anthony and Tim, go ahead and tell folks what's happened.
Well, let me give you an idea of this. Also, we just went to InfoWars Live, and it was down, but because we have backup systems through Cloudflare and everything, you can still sometimes access it right now. But so, in my view, this is the top security firm, the internet security firm that InfoWars is working with right now. It's definitely one of the top. No one would dispute that. And they're saying, okay, this is the group that Visa and MasterCard went to when they were under massive DDoS attack. But this isn't just a DDoS attack. That's kind of easy in some ways for this company to handle, even though it was scaling. That was just the first wave about 3-4 days ago in the middle of the night.
It's all exponential. It started Friday, and it's just exponential.
So it started with a massive DDoS attack, and they found a vulnerability within WordPress, which is nothing we can do about that. But then the second DDoS attack came in the following morning, which was massive. They used a SYN flood. There was a SYN flood attack. But the big thing that they're doing now is they're doing a multi-prong attack. This isn't just like, they're getting some botnet computers, like 50 computers or something. We're talking massive, massive scale. And they said that right now, this is about the sophistication level they use to take down credit card companies, banks. This is the same group also. One of the managers over there, we were just speaking with him. They said that, so Trump, obviously, his websites and things were hit with attacks like these.
Same
and
group.
they said, I don't know, but they said that Trump's attacks were nowhere near the level of these. They said this is either number one or number two most sophisticated series of attacks they've seen pretty much in their history. But they said, basically, they've got everyone looking at this. They've got various government groups looking at this. Everyone's checking it out and saying, what is going on? And they can't figure it out. But they did say, what kind of enemies are you making? Because clearly this is the most important funding time of the year. I mean, this is when all the sales come in. This is when people want to get their products. People want to get the Christmas stuff. And of course, the InfoWars story is getting completely seized.
Well, they know we're the only folks, along with Drudge, putting out the narrative that's true, that they're openly announcing the end of internet freedom and internet censorship and licensing of news. It's all being announced. Soros' group's being knighted as the group to implement it. And no one's talking about it but Infowars.com and a few other sites. We'll be back. Stay there, guys. I want to learn more. Yeah, we're on the march. You see that? We're fighting for you. We're fighting for you. Now, I want to be very, very clear. This country's being sabotaged. We're 31 days out from the inauguration of Trump. They're trying to overthrow his seating in the Electoral College today. Death threats are flowing. There are all these Netflix shows and HBO shows about how great the jihadis are in Syria, the wonderful white helmets. Well, the Russian ambassador was shot dead just minutes ago. This was reported by DrudgeReport.com. It's going up on Infowars.com as we speak. There's graphic video of a, quote, security guard who's a jihadi walking up and shooting the Russian ambassador. Russian ambassador shot dead by gunmen screaming, "We die in Aleppo, you die here," during an exhibition in Turkey. Now, these are the jihadis 5 years ago, funded by Hillary, that invaded into the country and have been overthrowing it. And then when the Syrians and the Russians fight back, our media calls them horrible and evil. Now, the word is, I got last week from a high-level military source, is that even though the U.S. military says they won't go along with it, Obama's preparing to give orders for airstrikes into Syria, hitting Russian/Turkish sites. If that happens, it's an act of war. And they've openly been calling for similar things like that. So this is all the craziness that's happening. This is the attempt to push us into regional wars that could lead to a new world war ahead of Trump getting into office. All hell's breaking loose. They mean business. The Pentagon and others have come out and said, if we strike joint Turkish-Russian sites when the legitimate government has invited the Russians in, it's an act of war against Russia. Now, do we have the video now of him shooting? Because I saw it during the break. Can we have that in a moment? We can just play it right off YouTube. We can do it that way. We don't have to transfer it. Now, I also have news here dealing with Georgia. We've been covering this for a few weeks. The officials have gone public. We have the video coming up at the start of the next segment. And now, continuing with this, we have the news out of Georgia where the state officials are saying they've been hacked by Homeland Security. Now, we know this happened all over the country. As Homeland Security, quote, tried to protect the election, they were actually in there trying to hack into the election systems and clearly change the results. They failed, though, because the tsunami was so big for Trump, despite the fact they stole 5 states, manipulated others. It was just too big a tsunami. They miscalculated. They stole big in the city centers, but weren't worried about outlying areas, and those came in so strong for Trump, on average, it was able to defeat them. And all this is coming out. That's why they changed the subject and blame the Russians for what they claim's been happening. Now, as you know, again, all hell is breaking loose around the world right now. The video is now up on Infowars.com. Russian ambassador Karlov shot and injured in Turkey. The word is he's now dead. The Russian ambassador has been wounded by a gunman while visiting a photo gallery in the Turkish capital. Some other people reportedly also injured in the attack a day after protests in Turkey over Russian military intervention in Syria. And Turkey has announced it's at war with Syria. It's always been at war with Syria the last 5 years, and it's sending in tanks and troops, suicide bombers, you name it. So again, all hell is breaking loose. And sides are changing sides, switching sides. They claim there was a coup against Erdogan that the West tried to run. Then he made a deal with Russia. Then he doubled back against it. These are the times big wars start. You've got them trying to raise interest rates right now to kill the Trump surge in the economy we've seen. This is economic warfare. Just like we're under economic hack attack and people trying to block our websites so you can't get to them, so you can't visit the shopping carts in the last few days of big shopping. And that's coming out of communist China. It's the same thing economically against you. Shutting down your power plants, raising your taxes. It's about domination. It's about control. Here is the video clip out of Syria today where the Russian ambassador is executed. Viewer discretion is advised. Notice the jihadi shaved his beard. He was blending in as he was the security guard. When I go to the airport, the people frisking me are wearing headdresses. They can't even speak English. We have all this security because of the Islamicists. And then the joke is, whether you're in Heathrow or whether you're in JFK, whether you're in New York or London, it's the jihadis running your life. And I've got stacks of news here where they're teaching in colleges the evil of whiteness and the evil of Christianity and the goodness of Islam. And all the liberal women are like, oh, yes, I don't have an American man because they're evil misogynists, but I've got a jihadi. The trendiest thing for liberal women is to have a jihadi that barely even lets them come out of the house. It's a cuckolding. They hate their daddy because he kissed their butt and gave them everything they wanted. They want somebody to treat them real bad. So they go from the Western man kissing their butt, putting them up on a pink pillow pedestal, to jihad, jihad Sam over here. Now, again, we're under the biggest hack attack of our history. It's so unprecedented, I can't even believe it. When we have other hacks and denial of service deals, I don't even bring it up because it just bounces off. This is, right now, one of the biggest in history, according to the top internet security firm in the country and the top servers, all of it. Same folks Visa and MasterCard use, Walmart use. They now say it is about to be the biggest attack ever. So we've got to go ahead and write this up, one for the record books. And I mean, who knows? They're thinking it might turn up to terabyte a second attacks. So the answer is go to low tech. If you haven't signed up for our newsletter, Infowars.com/newsletter. So they shut down Infowars and these sites off and on, or the government does. We can send you underground videos, underground articles. We already do that every day. Really the most important boil down. Special promo codes, but 50% off at InfoWarsStore.com. You can also call toll-free, 888-253-3139, 888-253-3139. And on that newsletter page, somewhere on there, we've got the sign up for Trump. We're going to mail today the 100,000 physical petitions that we printed off. We're going to, there's the free speech petition. People need to keep signing that at Infowars.com/newsletter. And that's being sent to Trump and to Congress, obviously, to have the cameras there and show it and bring attention to it and then get Trump to come out, which he's planning to do soon, I'm told, and really demonize the attacks on free speech and point out Communist China is honchoing it and quarterbacking it. There's high-level stuff going on with this right now. I'm going to stop right there. So they know they're attacking, the Communist Chinese are attacking what they see as one of the main mouthpieces of Trump and the American Renaissance, the American return of the Republic. And I've got Politico, Associated Press, all of them attacking us today, saying we're the evil mouthpiece. Look at Politico if you're a TV viewer. They've got another one of these fake conservatives like what's his name, Glenn Beck, that go on shows and say we were always frauds, we were always bad, and conservatism's bad. We're sorry. And of course, this has me supposedly in the graphic running Fox News and running Sean Hannity. And that's meant to manipulate Sean Hannity to stop covering the points we cover to make him feel like he's my minion, which he isn't. And then, Breitbart's under me. That's the whole image. Breitbart's under me. And Sean Hannity's my megaphone. And I'm the big monster that they've got a dual image here where I'm looking straight at the camera, but also the cutout is of my face. It's good art. Too bad the artists has turned themselves to deception. Because I hang stuff like that on the walls. It's very well done, very talented. But we'll just expropriate this now in the name of the people. Use it for our own purposes. So I hope you enjoy that. But seriously, they go on and say it's the post-truth era. Well, you've already said you were the post-truth people under Karl Rove that you decide reality. We're telling the truth. It's the return of truth you can't handle. I mean, how broke back are we? How dominated, how controlled, how pathetic that the communist Chinese are in stacks of news articles I've got here. I covered it exclusively yesterday, in depth, for most of the show, where they're admittedly running the censorship and advising Facebook, Google, and Twitter, who already conform to the Chinese model of communism and control in the last few years. That's 1,350,000,000 people. That's 4 times our population. They've already done it, so don't say they can't do it here. PC World's like, boy, they've been proven right. Now they're helping us. Read the article, scroll down. It's like, yeah, guess who's been proven right? Oh, the current debate over fake news has one country feeling vindicated. China for years. It's controversial censorship. And then they go on to say we're adopting their system. They kill people for just mild speech that I should be able to be a practicing Buddhist in my own home and do yoga. You're going to a death camp to have your organs frickin' cut out. And the left is like, we've got a new ally, Chairman Mao, literally. And I'm hitting them with this. There it is. Fake news is rampant even under tight Chinese filters. Oh, if they're trying as hard as they can and they can't do it, but we need to learn from them. They go on to lecture you in these articles about how they're here to we're going to shut down the bad people. We promise. We promise. I have a clip on Fox News where they go, we can learn a lot from China. And they've got a right to only have positive news on. Yeah, they execute you. They call it negative or rumors are fake. Is that the American way? We can't give the public a voice. See, what they don't like is you have a voice now. So they're picking drudgereport.com, Infowars.com, and Breitbart.com as the 3 test people to publicly pillory attack. And that's not working. So maybe if we have the Chinese shut him down, we'll shut up his voice. All you're doing is make everyone share our videos and our articles that much more. You're welcome to copy our videos onto your YouTube page. You're welcome to copy our articles onto your blog. Get them out. The answer is they got a bunch of slave computers hijacked, the Chinese do, attacking us. We hit them with HUMAT, with you getting our articles, our videos, and passing them on religiously to everybody that's happening. And if you call, they can't answer the phone because they're getting too many calls of support. Leave your name and number. We will call you back to take your order of support. You need X2 to change your whole, change my body chemistry, the good halogen, turn my life around. Lost 60-something pounds. It's incredible. We're on Anthony in a moment. You need oxy powder to flush out your intestines, higher level oxygen to cleanly and safely do it. You need backups and supplies. It makes great gifts of colloidal silver, silver bullet, the highest quality, 30 parts per million, $9.95. The same stuff's in Whole Foods for $24.95. It's the same stuff private labeled. On and on and on. Now 28 products from Living Defense Parasite Cleanse to Winter Sun, True, Vitamin D3, organic. Secret 12, methylcobalamin, organic, under the tongue. The best way to take it other than shots. Super Blue, I think it's almost sold out. Super high quality fluoride, non-fluoride toothpaste with colloidal silver and more. Now again, a lot of people, InfoWarsStore.com's down, but they have it jumping from servers to servers. The server's secure, your order's safe. It's an attack to block you from getting to it. InfoWarsStore.com. For those of you that know the backup store, I'll let Anthony, I can give you that because they know what that is too, and they're attacking it, but for some reason, it's not down. But the most important way is to call 888-253-3139. I'm not going to let these people win. We can fund ourselves with mail order, and with I'm on AM and FM stations across the country, and if people understand they've got to order, let's say they could shut us down for months. I'm already preparing for that in case that happens. It's the biggest attack in history. It's going to be international news. They won't be able to cover up. It's going to be giant. All the rest of the tech industry knows they can't give into this because it's giving into terrorism. They're going to build no matter what systems we need to defeat the communist Chinese. Mass murderers that feed on their own sad people like North Korean minion of theirs, Kim Jong-un does. So InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsStore.com is the umbrella site, or call 888-253-3139. We have Give the Gift of Life Christmas special. Can't believe this country's so tyrannical, saying Christmas is controversial. X2, Super Male Vitality, and Secret 12 all together, 20% off. I suggest you get that when you call. What a game changer. What a life changer. And it also funds the tip of the spear, the spearhead in the fight for liberty, 888-253-3139. Anthony, thanks for standing by. I know you've got a lot to do while I break this down. But look at this whole season of control. The word is they're going to do soft kills against Russians. We've already seen the head of Russian intelligence killed as well this year. We're seeing massive hot war heat up against Russia. U.S. troops massing on the Polish border with Russia. Trump obviously moving to try to stop this in 31 days, but will they let him get in? Before we cover that in the next segment, and how they're trying to overturn his electors today, as I told you they would do a month ago, and they called me a conspiracy theorist. See? They hate it that I know their attack plan. They hate it I don't care what they say, and I just go with the facts. I operate as if they don't exist, because they don't. They're frauds. They're sellouts. They're traitors. Anthony, break down the level, because as of yesterday, it was the second biggest DDoS spam bot attack they've ever seen. Now they're saying it's about to be the biggest. Anthony.
Well, let me just say, we're living in a world, we're living under a society where we can't even make our own decisions anymore about what we want to read. The EU government, the United States House gets to pass quietly a bill that could censor so-called fake news. Facebook says, that's okay, we're going to put a big stamp on it that says fake news to protect people, and you can't share anything, So we can't even decipher for ourselves anymore what's real and what's not. We have to have, it's a sad day to see Forbes say that we're seeing Facebook adopt the Chinese-style business model, right? So, number one, we can't even intellectually choose what we want to consume anymore to that level. There is a lot of fake news out there, sure, but a lot of it's going to be opinion-based, and everyone is inherently biased one way or another. So, number one, we have that attack at that level, which is huge. But then, in a more direct attack, you go on, let's say InfoWars Life, I just went on it over here, and it's down. The InfoWars store is down. Now, you would say, well, gee, what about InfoWars? Well, InfoWars.com is under attack too, but these people are smart, and they're attacking the lifeblood, InfoWars, Life.com, and InfoWars store. And it might be up for some people. We're over here, it's down. We have Cloudflare, so it kind of goes back up across co-locations around the world so that you can still get a backup system. But they're smart. They're cutting down the lifeblood. The sales were crushed over the last 4 days because of the massive DDoS attacks, because of the multi-pronged attacks.
It's now over $100,000. And again, then when your stuff's discounted like ours, let's say $40,000 of money, that sounds like a lot. Not 60 crew members, not flying people around to cover stuff, not paying for bandwidth, not paying for cybersecurity, not paying for legal. This is what it costs to run an operation against the New World Order. People say, why didn't somebody build a media system to fight them? They come after you. They demonize you. But here's the deal. We're winning. The great news is every time we fight back, we win. So flood the web with HUMET, spreading our links, spreading our articles, spreading our videos, explaining what's happening. When this article, this video gets archived today, get this out to everyone. Defend the free web and buy our products, because this is why they've been discouraged in the past. Every time they attack, we just get stronger because it makes us work harder. So show them. Hit them hard so we grow in the next year in their face. InfoWarsStore.com may be off, up and down. Go to 888-253-3139. And when we come back, I'll give you the address as well if you'd like to send us a donation or order anything over the mail. But give yourself the gift of free speech and defending the Republic. InfoWars is the heart of the resistance. Everybody knows that. The enemy knows that. Don't take it for granted. I don't take it for granted. By the way, I'm not saying, oh, I'm special, thank me. I'm saying, help us. We're in a war, folks. This is real. Look at it. We are kicking their butt. We're about to break free from the Chi-Coms. I get a little, not hysterical, but very excited. If you saw communist Chinese troops marching up and down with bayonets down the street, you'd get excited. This is 21st century war, where they're hitting InfoWars.com, the leading flagship in mobilizing populations worldwide against the globalist takeover. China has a major deal with the globalist cabal, the engine of the takeover, and they're coming after us. I'm not going to belabor this anymore. Jordan Maxwell, very hard to get on, best-selling author, Illuminati expert. Regardless of what you think about him, he's done groundbreaking work, incredibly thought-provoking. He was scheduled to be on next hour. I'm trying to move him to the third hour, which has even more listeners. Just because I've got to cover all this other elector news and stuff that's breaking, and how they just killed the Russian ambassador. I mean, it's just, my gut tells me that we were going to go into a crazy time. I said this 2 years ago, a year ago. I said this election was going to be huge. Trump was going to win, but then they were going to start a war, an economic collapse, you name it, to stop him. I'm on record. Geopolitically, I can look at it intellectually. Gut level, I can look at it. And my gut's never wrong. And if I seem happy, everybody's like, why are you so happy? Because once I'm in a fight, I'm not having anxiety anymore. It's the joy of battle. Berserking, basically, politically. And I've gone berserk is what's happened. I mean, I worked 18 hours yesterday. I took a few hours off with the kids. I worked 18 hours until 2 a.m. 18 hours. And I'm counting the few hours I took off. And I'm not bragging. I'm in total energized mode. Weight now is just pouring off of me. I still don't look as good as I used to 20 years ago, but I mean, I'm looking a lot better. I'm looking younger. It's just, I'm just coming alive. It's just like, I can just feel the times we're living in right now. It is just incredible. So the backup store that's also under attack, it's sluggish. The stores are safe. They haven't been hacked into. They're being hit, so you can't get in the door. It's like they're boarding up the door, the door, so you can't get in. Store.infowars.com. Store.infowars.com is the old shopping cart. Has all the bells and whistles. Looks just the same. Has all the same products. It's updated every day. Store.infowars.com. You can also direct mail P.O. Box 19549, Austin, Texas 78760. And folks, I never ask for this, but donations. The country is on its knees. We're getting back up on our legs. We got a chance to throw the Chi-Coms out of here, who openly are taking over Hollywood, our media, lecturing us, saying we can't have Donald Trump, giving Hillary money, meddling in our elections. Stand up against the murdering communist Chinese before we get intimidated into slavery. Our same elite put the Chi-Coms in control over the Chinese, and I apologize to the Chinese for that. We fight for the Falun Gong. We fight for the Chinese people. We fight for Taiwan. They're so angry. I'm supporting Taiwan. I support independence from tyranny. P.O. Box 19549, Austin, Texas 78760. I need your support now more than ever. We're keeping the free shipping through this week. It's not about Christmas now. It's about letting them know they're going to lose. And they have put a big dent in our funding for next year because December, this week, pretty much ending this weekend already, was when we would make the money to see how much extra we'd have in the new year. But listen, I can just take on more sponsors, do whatever's needed. But I'd really just rather have you support us. InfoWarsStore.com. Get the products you need. Anthony, other points I'm dragging you in there to add about this.
No, exactly. That's the thing, though. As an independent group, as an independent organization, not taking money from mega corporations, not taking money from government subsidies and groups and saying, oh, well, we're here for the people. But meanwhile, getting back to our payments, we actually need to sell stuff that is really good. And with the nutraceuticals, they're life-changing. I super believe in them. I take them every single day.
Look how they're trying to shut down Breitbart right now. Using the fact that they have big sponsors. And I'm not blaming them having BMW. Those are great cars. I don't blame them having Kellogg's. That's crap food, but that's who they have on there. But they're now withdrawing their support to bankrupt them. It's what they do.
Well,
by the way, Breitbart wouldn't be there if it wasn't for big Republican donors that are patriots. Go ahead.
Yeah, what else are they going to do when they have millions and millions of fans? I mean, they try to attack you over and over again, say you're crazy, whatever. But your millions of listeners that actually know you, they say, well, hey, we like him. So what else are they going to do? They're going to try and cut down your funding arm. They're going to try and stop you any way they possibly can. And this is their last resort.
Anthony, I've been interrupting you for 30 minutes as I've had you stand there. When we come back, I'm going to give you the floor to talk about what's unfolding. Then I'm going to shift gears. I'm trying to shut down the electors. The war with Russia they're trying to start. 31 days, folks. They're going to do everything they can to stop the liberty movement taking back America. So we get America, we get the world. Here's to all the patriots standing up for humanity worldwide, whether they be Japanese, Chinese, Russian, American, Mexican, it doesn't matter. We're all in this together, and I salute you. Whether you're Nigerian or Palestinian, doesn't matter. The truth is the globalists are dehumanizing us. They're jacking our food and water supply. They're trying to destroy the family. They think that we're stupid, but as soon as we start taking action, we learn to develop those psychological and cultural muscles to throw off the enemy. Anthony Gucciardi, break down the sustained massive attack, one of the biggest, if not the biggest in history, according to the top internet company we have employed. Let's get his mic on. Yeah, sorry, your mic's sorted out.
Yeah,
go
absolutely.
ahead,
Anthony. No worries. They're totally overblown back here doing much stuff. But no, it's crazy. What's crazy is that apparently it's one of the most sophisticated attacks these groups have ever seen. They've worked with Visa, MasterCard, you name it. They've done massive DDoS attacks. They said this could get up to a terabyte a second. But it's not just the DDoS attacks. It's like a multi-pronged attack that's in multiple different ways and systems and looking at vulnerabilities and things. But you got to think about it, right? What are control freaks afraid of? They're afraid of losing control of their little fake perceived paradigm that they have control under. And they hate independent groups. They hate independent media. They hate anything that doesn't follow the chippering mouthpiece of the establishment system. And that means even if you don't agree with, every independent group out there, I certainly don't. I don't agree with everything. But at least they're independent. At least they're getting funding from themselves or fans or something and not from the government and not from the corporations that would, of course, make them say the same things through their mouthpiece. So they're desperately afraid of groups that are independent. They're desperately afraid of people like you because there's actually no control. There's no control through your back end. They don't come in here and tell you what to say. So kind of like a loose cannon that could actually fire, proverbially and intellectually at the target very, very frequently and just blasting things off. So they're desperately afraid, and that's why we see things like them trying to go after fake news. That's why they aren't letting us think for ourselves anymore. This is bad. This is scary. Just like China, where they say, yeah, China's doing a great job protecting against fake news and negative news. Yeah, they classify fake news as anything that's not along with the regime, that's not along with their view of reality, which they've so tightly controlled. And even then, it gets through. Even then, they burn CDs and DVDs, and everyone knows the truth over there. Okay, so it's all a big joke. But after they can't fight us intellectually and they say, these people are just losers on the internet, as there's millions of fans, what are they going to do? They have to cut off the funding. And I don't know the groups behind this at all. I'm not even going to speculate, but I will say when you have a major firm saying, okay, this is like a Visa/MasterCard attack with massive levels of sophistication, it doesn't even matter which group it is because there's already an above ground attack with the fake news, with trying to discredit everyone that wouldn't dare, that would
well,
dare
Anthony, just to be specific, they said it's state-sponsored level, and this is what the communist Chinese do, and this is their speciality, and they've taken credit for the most recent ones, even to PC world, and we've been targeting China, and it appears to be coming from China.
Well, what I'm excited about is actually I spoke to one of the head guys over there, and they might want to come on the show and become public about everything. And they did say, I don't know who you made enemies with, but this looks like state-sponsored. It looks serious. It's one of the biggest sophisticated, if not the biggest, most sophisticated attacks they've seen. So clearly, yes, you've made some enemies, and that's what happens when you're independent and you don't follow along with the establishment system that tells you what to do. That's just what's going to happen. And they picked, and they're smart, they picked the exact days that the funding is the most required. And you can see on screen there, that's what happens when you go to the store. It reroutes you to Cloudflare, which is our backup system that's also getting under attack. And even they said, this is the premier level of security we're offering, and it's still getting hurt. It's still getting blasted. And they're hitting the vein of all of this, the lifeblood. They're attacking the store because they're smart.
That's right. You can always just simply write to P.O. Box 19549, Austin, Texas, 78760, and not let the globalists and their minions stop you. You notice Obama said we're going to hit back at Trump and the Russians and everybody in our way of choosing with cyber war. We know he works for the Communist Chinese. Hillary is a Chinese agent. That top CIA people confirm that. So this is who they go through for plausible deniability. A lot of times Western governments will use a foreign asset, a foreign government's hitman to kill somebody too. So our best analysis is this is the globalists, the foundations through the Chinese. We've got new audio. Bitter Hillary blames FBI Putin for election loss. Meanwhile, the Russians have reportedly lost hundreds and hundreds of troops, helicopter pilots, you name it, fighting globalist proxy armies funded by NATO and Saudi Arabia, jihadists. And now the Russian ambassador shot dead in Turkey. When I was first seeing the headlines, I was thinking that they were shot dead because it broke so fast in Syria. This is the ambassador to Turkey. Assassin opens fire at photo exhibition. Turkish police officer, we die in Aleppo, you die here. Allah Akbar. Nothing to do with Islam, though. We'll probably actually hear Obama go, this is not Islam, this is not Islam. Russia calls this terrorist act. So that's from drudgereport.com. It's up on Infowars.com right now as well. We've already played the video. I'm not going to play it again. Graphic video, Russian ambassador to Turkey dead after assassination. They've been killing so many Russian ambassadors and the head of their intelligence agency in Syria that I just mentally conflated the two countries that border each other. Turkey has been at war for 5 years, unofficially, now officially announced 2 weeks ago, with Syria and is trying to overthrow it. Remember, the West started the war, sending jihadis in 5 years ago. When those forces got repulsed, Turkey opened its borders, allowed them in, and then sent them into Eastern and Western Europe. Truly incredible. But don't worry, Snopes, who George Soros funds, is now being put in charge of Facebook and others, and they say that it's not true that Hillary ever funded jihadis. Even though congressional hearings admit it, top generals admit it, even though it's all public, Snopes says it's not true because they're God. So I've got a lot of news I want to go over on that front, but there are the Russians fighting the jihadis. And if you look at the image of the police officer, he's wearing a suit, he's wearing a black tie, he looks like he's a GQ model or something. Doesn't look like a jihadi, but see, the jihadis, when they're in amongst the enemy, they don't need to look like they're conformed. They can drink alcohol, do whatever. Because the way Islam's all practiced, it's all dual. Like, if you're gay, they execute you. But if you're just loving a child, if it's love having sex with them, it's okay. And notice, that's what Nambula says. They go, oh, we're not molesting 5-year-olds. We're loving them. So that's the new level this has gotten to. I want to go over a ton of news now and a bunch of clips that I haven't gotten to yet. But before I go any further, if you just joined us, I never get up here and say, oh my gosh, we're under a massive hack attack. We're having our sites blocked. We're having our shopping carts blocked during the most busy days of the year. This is terrible. Because we just, whatever the attack is, we learn from it. The companies learn from it. We've gotten better companies over the years, are more sophisticated, until we have undoubtedly one of the top 3 in the nation that works for everybody. You know, I mean, you name it. They do the cybersecurity for MasterCard, Visa, Walmart, all of it. And so it's not a hack of the sites themselves, it's just denial of service, but using massive bot attacks, massive zombie computers where they infect your computer, they take control, they do it. It's just huge. And it just exponentially, logarithmically gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger as we put in things to countermand it. They only intensify. And so I've always been ready, and I've told you this was coming to go low tech. Infowars.com/newsletter. We can get you the videos, the articles directly to your inbox to then spread to people if you're signed up with our email. It's pretty much impossible to stop that or close to it. We need you to spread the articles and videos and not just take them for granted. We need folks to call the toll-free number. Free shipping, I'm extending it throughout the week. Up to 50% off on many of the products like Colloidal Silver, 30% off on a lot of other products. We have a Christmas special that's 20% off, 3 of our best sellers. But I'm going to post some specials on the shopping cart, on the online shopping center, InfoWarsStore.com, and also our backup, which is store.infowars.com, that are regular price if you'd like to just support the operation. Because I really wanted to take the extra profit we make in the days leading up to Christmas, when we'll have 5 times, 6 times, 10 times the sales we do on a normal day, say in July. That's when we get the new crew members hired. That's when we buy more equipment. That's how we put funds in for any legal issues or whatever. That's how we operate this information warfare weapon system that uses the truth and openness and decency and good to overpower mountainous lies of colossal Goliath-level tyranny. So InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsStore.com. Those sites are up and down. You can also call toll-free 888-253-3139. Now, I said I was going to get to this at the end of the hour, but I got behind. So remind me, crew, make a note, please. Need you guys to help the talk show host produce in here. You're doing a great job, but I need some help here because I get a little scatterbrained. Remind me at the bottom of the hour to play the Georgia newscast, there's several, where they've confirmed Homeland Security's hacking in and taking over the election. So they tried to steal the elections. The globalists did. They failed. This is big news. It's been out for a few weeks, but now it's being confirmed. So that's coming up. Now, let me go ahead and get into the other news. First, let me just read you these headlines. Electoral College, unloved but ever present, set to anoint Trump. That's French news agency on Yahoo. Now, they're claiming Russian news came into the U.S. and influenced us about Trump. That's what they're calling the hacking. What about the French telling us he's the anointed one? It's the popular vote of the states, but then budgeted within the states, and it doesn't line up exactly with the popular vote. It gives the states a little bit extra room so they don't get dominated by more populous states. That's why it's there. It's another check and balance. You count out the illegals that voted, Trump really won the popular vote. Clearly. That doesn't matter. He's the anointed one. See, everything's he's anointed. No, Hillary was anointed, and the people said no. Anointed by Soros. Electors under siege. Radical left trying to overthrow the election. Politico. And they're death-threatening people. It's all admitted. In fact, let's cue up the first clip here in a moment of from CNN, even the Communist News Network, even the Clinton News Network, the Conformity News Network admits that the death threats are flowing. So they're set to make Trump official today. Creepy Podesta refuses to say election was fair and free, even though they said that was impossible for there to be fraud. That's out of the Hill. Lynch says she regrets tarmac meeting with Clinton. Well, now they're just saying that meeting never happened. I mean, just ask Snopes. Continuing, Arizona elector Obama should have publicly discouraged anti-Trump death threats. It's a full-on onslaught. Yeah, but they just have Nancy Pelosi's daughter come on air and imply that I gave her a death threat. See, just invert what you're doing, or edit what Alex says then, about her funding jihadis to rape and murder kids, and just say she said she was doing it in the pizza place, and then have outrage with your zombie viewers. PA electors get police protection because they're getting harassed so intensely. That's how the Post-Gazette of the loving liberals. Coup or no coup, what to watch for as the Electoral College votes on Monday. And we're now Monday. They're supposed to vote today across the states. There'll be lots of circuses as they get together to vote. We'll be tracking all of that right through the nightly news tonight and tomorrow, obviously live. But December 19th, the meeting of electors. They meet in each state to select the president and vice president of the United States. The electors record their votes in 6 original certificates of vote, which are paired with the remaining 6 original certificates of ascertainment. The electors sign and seal and certify the packages of electoral votes and immediately send them to federal and state officials as detailed in the accompanying instructions. The president of the Senate, or archivist on December 28th of the United States, and other designated federal and state officials must have the electoral votes in hand. January 6th of 2017, the Congress meets in joint session to count the electoral votes unless Congress passes a law to change the date. Meanwhile, Bill Clinton is engaged in massive race baiting. Bill Clinton says Trump knows how to get angry white men to vote for him, even though lying slick Bill, when he had on the pedophile
Epstein's plane. That's a fact. That isn't a rumor right there. No, sirree, Bob. When he's not doing that, he's not telling you that the same whites that put Obama in are the same white Midwest voters that voted for Trump because they want change and prosperity back. But he's going to make it racial so that minorities, who are the new majority in most areas, don't feel like when they hear about free market or wealth, that's something they can be involved in. That's really how Bill Clinton's broken strategy works, is divide and conquer. He admits it. Let's continue here. University offers class on the problem of whiteness. Yeah, they have these all over the country. University of Southern California. See, demonizing whites. And now all the minorities get to learn with other white leaders how to gang up and be race bullies. Literal KKK behavior. Don't worry, though. We're going to play this when we come back. Video. UVA students sign petition to ban Christmas. That's right. And now they're also banning the word holiday. It's all about banning words, book burning. Huffington Post Syrian refugee columnist, cultural enrichment expert, says women to blame for New Year's sex attacks for being out alone at night. The Cologne mayor said the same thing. You know, you're 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night. You're going home on a subway. You get gang raped. Your problem, sweetie. This is from the loving liberals. No. Meanwhile, there's more cultural enrichment in Turkey as the Russian ambassador got gunned down at an art display for the community as the man screamed, Allah Akbar, you kill, you die in Aleppo, you die here, showing he's a Wahhabist jihadi. Aha. He'll probably get a year in prison. Meanwhile, Obamacare screws all Americans. Obamacare subsidies set to increase by $10 billion as costs spiral out of control. Then we're going to get into a bunch of news about the head of the IMF convicted. Oh, we'll break that down, play a bunch of clips I mentioned and more straight ahead here on the InfoWar. I'm Alex Jones. They're trying to shut us down. Sending out an SOS. We're 31 days out from President Trump being president and hopefully stopping the treason, stopping the federal funding of Black Lives Matter and all these race riot groups, trying to stabilize the country, get some jobs back here. We are seeing just weaponized corporate evil run rampant. Since I mentioned these clips, let me go to some of these. Here's a clip, as I mentioned. Electoral College members received death threats for promising to confirm Donald Trump as president. Here it is.
So this one came in a day before the election. Hey, Blankhead, I'll find you and put a bullet in your fat, blinking mouth.
Death threats fill Michigan elector Michael Benarian's social media accounts.
So this is a tweet I received, has a picture of a noose.
His mailbox packed with demands coming from around the country. 2,000 just this week, he says.
Oregon, Oklahoma, Washington State.
I am so sorry.
The mailman even interrupting our interview to deliver another 600 letters, all calling on him not to vote for Donald Trump. Something Benarian, along with Michigan's 15 other electors, pledged to do, regardless of the pressures.
I've had death wishes, people just saying, I hope you die, do society a favor, throw yourself in front of a bus. And just recently I was reading a blog about me, and unfortunately these people not only called for the burning of myself, but my family, which is completely out of line.
Benarian has no choice. Michigan state law keeps him from changing his vote. Electors in 27 other states and the District of Columbia also have what are known as faithless elector laws. But in 22 states, electors can go rogue. Anti-Trump groups are not letting up, posting the names and addresses of 283 electors on the internet, encouraging people across the country to write the electors asking they vote against Trump.
What's incredible about that piece is CNN hardly ever tells the truth, but they did tell the truth there. But notice she's like, he doesn't have any choice. After they talk about murdering his family, he doesn't have any choice. Kind of like, well, people are upset. Like when the cops get killed, CNN has hosts that go, well, it is cops' fault. They're doing bad stuff. Oh, some cop might do something wrong in another state, so you shoot some other cop in another state in the back of the head? What? So a black guy does something wrong, so you go randomly shoot another black guy, or a white guy does something wrong, or a woman does something wrong? This is mental illness. And CNN is showing the websites, giving it attention to hype this up with their viewers. Can you imagine what would happen if I did 1/10 of this? I'd be arrested, and I should. Instead, they have Nancy Pelosi's daughter on Fox, CNN, you name it, going, I'm not trying to have a coup or overthrow an election. That's a lie by conspiracy theorist Alex Jones, who sent people to threaten to kill me. And they had Pelosi reportedly contact the attorney general to have some criminal investigation of me. I never said anything about her, but that she was trying to overthrow the election, which they admit they are. Anna says she looks like Frankenstein after she was doing all that. I mean, looks like Frankenstein with a wig, big square head. I mean, you do look like Frankenstein, lady. You're even uglier than your mother. I'm sorry, but you want to get personal, there I am. I shouldn't do that. I apologize. You have an ugly soul, okay? And you're a liar. But here they are doing all this. I mean, 600 letters came in one day. A bunch of them threatening to kill him. Then let's go out to break with these hysterical New Hampshire folks. They're trying to organize states to force people to go with the popular vote and overthrow Trump. But they're not trying to overthrow the election. I'm fake news for saying that. Here it is.
I think it is almost beyond belief that we have a woman who has won 2.5 million more votes than the person who wins the electoral.
Hit pause. This is so horrible. I want to give this justice on the side of the break. I need to talk about this. If you're not a TV viewer, you don't see it. It's these women sitting around like they've all found their children dead, okay, in the basement. You're just going, it's unbelievable. We have a woman, and now she doesn't get it. When they're the people that thought Hillary was a shoo-in, saying now Trump may win the popular, but if she wins the electoral, because the way the map looks, we got to go with it. That's our system to give states that have smaller populations a little bit higher proportional, just maybe 1 percentage point, so that they don't get bullied. Kind of like senators used to be appointed by the state legislatures, so the states had power. The House members were popularly elected. They got rid of that with the 17th Amendment. Also snuck through around Christmas time in 1913, like they're sneaking through all this internet censorship right now. But now they're just like, it's because she's a woman. Has nothing to do with it. If you'd have run a woman that was half decent, she'd have beaten Trump. Bernie Sanders probably would have beaten Trump, the polls showed. But no, you had to run another Clinton. The problem wasn't that she was a woman. The problem was she was a dirtbag kingpin Clinton, a blood-sucking Clinton. All right, Jordan Maxwell is really hard to get on the radio. In fact, whenever I ask him on, he doesn't come on. He comes on when he wants to. And I looked into it. He's had a lot of threats, a lot of harassment. They have really come after him, and he's elderly. He was pretty much a cult insider, not into black magic stuff, but he was given entry into some of those high-level Blavatsky-type deals. Because I've studied it deeply, and I can tell he can teach you a lot. So it's hard to get him on, but he says such big stuff's happening, he wanted to come on. And so he's going to be joining us. Why Democrats are so angry with the election. There is a much bigger movement going on around the world that no one sees. Words are very important to mislead people. The video Alex and I talked about is now done. He wants us to show that. He says he has a new research website with everything on it. And he wants to talk about a lot of other stuff. Okay, so that's Jordan Maxwell joining us in the next hour. And we have David Knight hosting the 4th hour today. So that is all coming up. It's not just survival for this show. The reason they hate me is that, I want to explain this. People talk, but they don't do the work. I have read hundreds of history books, hundreds, because I would get addicted to them. In fact, until I was about 27 and started having children, I read probably 3 hours every night, and I could pretty much speed read. So I've read, let's not exaggerate. I'm not bragging. I just keep saying hundreds, and it sounds like an exaggeration. I've probably read 200 naval history books of the U.S., England, France, China, Japan, the Netherlands, the Romans, the Greeks. I mean, I really got into naval stuff for some reason on a JAG for about 2 years. I've read probably, I usually burn out at about 200. I'm going to the library, having library deliver books. I probably read 300 books on the Nazis. Another 100 on the World War II alone, probably 50 on World War I. Probably about 50 or so on Rome. I've read 2 of Plato's books, 1 of Aristotle's, 3 of Nietzsche's. I've read both of Carol Quigley's books. I've read 5 Zbigniew Brzezinski books. I used to read every 2 months. Foreign Affairs had a subscription to it. Used to go down in college. The only place that sold newsstands was also a porn shop. One side was news, it was called News. One side was periodicals from all over the country that came in daily or a day after. The other side was porn. And they used to see me in there almost every day. I'd say, oh, Alex Jones. People make a joke. I'd be walking out. Even once I was on air, the internet wasn't very big by like 98 still. People that were listeners would see me walking out of the porn shop with the newspapers on my arm. Oh, what porn you into? I go, oh, you know, government disinformation porn, you know, the New York Times, the Washington Post. But I don't know why I'm digressing off. I used to be a bookworm. I'll be honest with you. I read magazines now, and I scan government documents, and I cheat sheet new books because they'll be scanned online. I didn't buy Rockefeller's book, Reflections about World Government. I just read the subpages online about world government and stuff. So I haven't read a book. It's weird. I haven't read a book in like 5 years. And before that, I'm not reading like a book every few months. I mean, I've just quit reading books. It's a luxury I had to give up because I'm fighting now. I'm reading breaking stuff. I'm that committed. I don't watch TV anymore, except to monitor it. I might see a movie once a week now at home. And I'm not bragging. I'm explaining something. I know what I'm talking about. I have a big historical index. I have a current contemporary index. I have a near past index. I read a lot of near futurist indexes. And I know what the elite are saying and doing. And here's the frustrating part. I've talked about it nauseum, but I'll say it again. 90+% of what the globalists are doing is published. I mean, I read stuff in the 60s by top colleges saying, we're going to promote boys being girls and girls being boys and add chemicals to the water and do this to break up the family. I don't hate anybody that's been confused and told they're a girl with the chemicals and stuff, and sometimes it's natural. But the point is they're pushing you in that way as part of an agenda. It's a fact. It's not my opinion. And once people have been inducted into this stuff as their identity, they don't want to go back. It's who they are. It's who they know. I use the Omega Man allegory. He's the scientist, the lone guy to live. Everybody else has like this zombiosis. Most of them are retarded. Some a ruling guild, or it's kind of the Morlocks and the Eloi line of H.G. Wells, are intelligent. They're basically vampires. He's like, listen, my blood will cure you. They go, dude, we don't want it. You're dead, okay? I mean, that's what I feel like is Omega Man, quite frankly. And it is a cultural disease, all this stuff. And they're doing it on purpose. So you want to sit there and throw spears at me all day, knock yourselves out, man. I, as a human, can't stop but warn you. I mean, I used to be so neurotic about proving things to people that I sent off to several universities and got copies, paid their libraries, because I didn't want to travel to Kansas and New York. And I got the letters of Margaret Sanger that are around here somewhere. I did a TV show on it, did some radio shows like 12 years ago. And it was hundreds of pages of how blacks aren't human and how they're going to hire all the liberal preachers to control the black movement, how they're going to break up the family and make women be promiscuous so that men are promiscuous so they won't stay with women, so that kids get raised by the state. And then we're living it. We're experiencing it. And the people that are under it are mad that you're even telling them what did it to them. If you want to stay like that, that's your business. Just know it was done to you 9 times out of 10. Now, I'm not just talking about the cover of National Geographic and, showing a little kid who they tell you is a woman and their school teaches you you're a woman. That's the school involving your child's sexuality. It's pedophilia. It's NAMBLA. Not in my view. It's a fact. The UN accepts NAMBLA. They say it's our agenda. Why do you think Salon comes out and says it's okay for men to want 5-year-old girls? Is it okay for me to slit their throats? The men? So, this is what this is all about. And because we built such an incredible civilization that empowers people to not have to work, they can sit around bitching all day at those of us that still produce as if we're the enemy, because they're in innate competition with our virile ingenuity and civilization building spark that men carry. Women carry it as well, but they build the nest. It's a saying I coined. Women like nest and women like nesting because they are nests. Feminists say you're not a nest. You're not a loving creature that creates another human through a fusion, a spliced clone of you, your ancestors, and your mate's ancestors, some beautiful, magical thing. No, it's a parasite. Kill it. I think Gloria Steinem has 4 or 5 kids or whatever it is. I mean, this is our Ted Turner says you shouldn't be able to have kids, but you can have 5. It's all about them. They're going to have cars. They're going to have jets. They're going to have air conditioning. They're going to do whatever they want. You're not, because they're selfish pigs. So I want to get into the hacking of the election. Oh, the Chinese communists and the Saudi Arabian loon royalty and the EU and the Pope and everybody gang raped the American psyche to sell us on tyranny. And it didn't work. We rejected it, just like Brexit did. Just like Italy just rejected the globalist takeover, the expansion of EU power and EU troops to be stationed there. That's what it was. Total veto power by the EU over Italy, ending their government. The Italians said, our government's got problems, but we'll take it over. Legrand, who just got convicted of corruption, basically. They called it negligence, that they've got Swiss bank accounts and they don't pay taxes, and the whole Socialist Party got caught in France basically not paying taxes. Let me give you a little news flash. When they raise taxes to 101% on the middle class, that's the middle class selectively they're enforcing on to bankrupt. You don't believe me? Google, France raises taxes to 101%. You'll get it. That's a regressive tax to bankrupt you. It's war. It's siege. It's what the globalists do. But before I get to that, let's go ahead and go back to the clip I mentioned of just these, it's a woman, the first time we've got a woman. And it's a fake face on the Politico. Aren't we all sad, ladies? And they're up there at a state house meeting room to make it look all official. And yeah, we're going to move to have the states say that we're going to go with the nation's popular vote and then switch our electors to that. Yeah, but we're not trying to coup the president. There's no movement to overthrow, they said, for a month, so we wouldn't organize a resistance. And I'm like, they're going to try to take it. They're going to try to take it the 19th. And even if that fails, they're going to try to take it until the 6th of January. Then they're going to try to kill Trump. And they're going to start a war with Russia. They're going to start it in Syria. That's my intel. You know, you see it all happening. All happening. But see, they want to deny it's happening so you don't organize, so we can't stop it. Then they jump to the next line, hoping you haven't paid attention to what I've covered and what I've said, so they can move on to the next attack. You see, why in World War I with the Germans and the Allies blare on loudspeakers that, this is not an assault, an armistice has been declared, no one's fighting, everything's fine. Psychological warfare was first being tested out then. It was seen as very, very, illegal, but it's still tested. Because if you even get 2 or 3% of the enemy to lay down their guns, you can overrun them. Or at least they hesitate and are now thinking it's all over, don't fight, instead of committing to the fight. An allegory, a parable, an example of this is Saving Private Ryan, based on a composite of a lot of true things that happened, but it's still overall fiction, like The Patriot. And they're wrestling around in this shot-up apartment building, and the GI gets the better of the German soldier, and he's got the big knife, the bayonet, about to drive it into him, and the German goes, shh, stop, I'm your friend, don't, no. And the American goes, okay, we're friends. He uses that to rotate him around and drive the knife right into his heart. And that's why they do it. There are no death panels. Obamacare is free. There is no IRS penalty. Alex Jones is lying. Matt Drudge is fake news. Don't listen, there are no drones. The borders are not open. No diseases are coming across. There is no inflation. I went to look and see at the Alamo Draft House how much Rogue One was, because my kids wanted to go, even though it's a feminist brainwashing film like everything else. I wouldn't care if it was a few films with feminist brainwashing, like all of them. But I'm going to go as an educational thing, I thought. It was $25 for an adult. Oh, there's no inflation, though. That some showings are that, others are lower. They're like testing to see what you'll do. Well, some are only 15. I mean, don't worry, kids are only 12. But there's no inflation because the TV said so. Let's go to these whining babies. Here it is.
I think it is almost beyond belief that we...
I love how it's always 90% women at these meetings, and they're all like, we're women, we're powerful, we're together. It's all this emptiness, as if these women would do anything for each other. Women are meaner to women on average. They won't give loans to other women as much. It's all known in every culture. It's all fake posing. They've always got the beta men sitting in the background who are good and do what the women tell them to prove that they're a big man. Here, let's back it up to the start again. We've got the big mommy up there to steal the popular vote of the state, and she's the big mommy. Let's hear about big mommy. Here it is.
I think it is almost beyond belief that we have a woman who has won 2.5 million more votes than the person who wins the electoral vote.
By the way, let's hit pause. Start over again. Look at this guy who looks at her like she's God. That's the little thing they do, like she's the leader, she's admired. All of it scripted at a government facility to make it look like it's all official and powerful. All of it scripted by these phony politicos. Look at the smug look on that blonde's face, little pig face. It's like a Chinese execution. I mean, you ever watch the videos of them executing men, women, and children in China? They just have this look of pleasure, like, They bring out, and it's all like, because they're going to get the taxes, they're going to get control, they're going to run things. These are all politicos in New Hampshire feeding on people. They're in charge. They have the will to dominate. They want to prove themselves. They want to run your life. They want to take your guns. Your kids belong to them. Let's go back to them.
I think it is almost beyond belief that we have a woman who has won 2.5 million more votes than the person who wins the electoral vote.
When you organize illegals to vote and dead people?
And I'd like to address that.
I'd like to. We want to destroy the country and we can't.
Onto the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact. It's a real mouthful. For those of us who are not familiar with it,
who stole the money from the Asian kids and so liberal and launched all the wars. I love her. A woman.
U.S. states and the District of Columbia to award all their respective electoral votes to whichever presidential candidate wins the overall popular vote in the 50 states.
But no one wants to overthrow the election. No, it's a fake news. Don't listen to Alex.
Would modify the way participating states implement Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2
Look at that pseudo-intellectual behind her. Look at it. He thinks he's so tough.
which requires each state legislature to define a method to appoint its electors to vote.
They're so proud of themselves. They're going to overthrow the evil white male.
The Constitution does
They're
not
gonna show
mandate
daddy.
any particular legislative scheme for selecting electors, and instead vests
They thought they'd
state
broken the country.
legislatures
Soulless
with the
husk.
exclusive power to choose how to allocate its own electors. Adoption of the compact would not require...
Thought they'd broken us. They're so upset because they have no identity. Just killing America is their only identity.
Designed to ensure
And
that the
slithering
candidate who
around. And,
wins the
oh,
most
thank God
popular
the communist
vote
Chinese
is
are going to censor
elected
America.
president.
Oh, we've got allies.
And it will
Oh, you
come
running
into
death
effect
vans?
only
Oh, you're so
if it
cute. Oh, I love Kim Jong-un too.
As of this
Thanks
date,
for
the
installing
compact
him.
has been adopted by 10 states and the District of Columbia, which together have 165 electoral
Now, so they're
votes.
hatching to get 10 states to ignore the popular vote and use state authority to order electors, change the law,
But rather
to vote for
take
Hillary.
this opportunity to bring attention
Ignoring
to
their
it
state votes.
and to encourage us all to study its provisions, and to you, Mr. Secretary, perhaps to report to the public and today's electors.
Yes, report
giving
to
us
the
your
public,
considered
yes.
opinion, and if it is favorable, helping us chart
This is in the
the
State
path
House as New Hampshire is about to
adopt it.
seat its
Again,
delegates.
Thank you for your hospitality.
Its electors.
today.
Yeah, oh. We're going to have Hillary's brain in a jar. But again, there's talk this week by right-wing extremists, disinformation, fake news, liar in chief, these are all real statements, about a claim to overthrow Trump. Can you believe the extremism of this nutball? That was 3-4 weeks ago. They were first organizing this fiasco. They didn't want us to build opposition. No, they wanted us to stand around and go, that'll never happen. Yeah, good luck. But instead, we've been here opposing it, trying to warn people so they'd be involved. And I guess they don't want Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com up right now when this happens today because the globalists hooked up with the communist Chinese are hitting us with one, if not the biggest, zombie spam bot attacks with a bunch of other stuff we've ever seen. But right now, the shopping cart is back up, InfoWarsStore.com. Get in there while you can. Free shipping extended this week. 50% off many items, and it's a fight for the First Amendment. We need those funds to operate. Plus, these are great items. InfoWarsStore.com. Stay with us. All right, so we know the communist Chinese. We know the mainstream media. We know the illegals pouring into the country. We know the dead people that the Democrats were getting their names and going out and voting. We have it all on video. Their own top people admitting the fraud. And now the Democrats want to come in and have 10 states they're organizing. They always hate states' rights when they have no power. But now states to organize to say they're going to honor the national popular vote. That's Republican states. And take all the votes away and give tens of billions to Hillary. What a creepy, weird thing to say. But it's okay because Hillary's a woman. And now, we've been covering this for several weeks when a bunch of different states, including Georgia, had officials come out and say, look, we had Homeland Security computers breaking in on election night going after the voting servers. Well, Homeland Security said they had to protect things. Remember what Roger Stone said a month before Homeland Security even announced in response to myself and Trump that they were going to, quote, take over the election to, quote, protect it from the Russians? He said, watch the watchers, watch DHS come in and claim they're going to take over. WSB-TV, Channel 2 Atlanta, has one of the reports. More states confirm suspected cyber attacks sourced to Department of Homeland Security. And, of course, trying to flip the votes to Hillary. DHS responds to hacking accusations from Georgia. Says, it's preposterous. Of course it is. They're just openly screaming bloody murder and aren't prosecuting people saying kill Donald Trump. And CNN's like, this poor elector, people want to kill him. It's not his fault. Here is the report.
Jovita, secretaries of state offices run state election systems, and as the scope of this story grows, so does the number of questions, a lot of red flags that remain unresolved.
We need somebody to dig down into this story and figure out exactly what happened.
Another demand for answers from Georgia Secretary of State Brian Kemp to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. On Thursday, we confirmed election agencies in West Virginia and Kentucky have also traced suspected cyber attacks on its networks in November to the same DHS IP address Kemp's office already linked to a massive unauthorized vulnerability scan of his agency's firewall that same month.
So now this just raises more questions that haven't been answered about this and continues to raise the alarms and the concern that I have.
Through an open records request, we got a hold of the results of a survey Kemp asked the National Association of Secretaries of State send to its members. West Virginia wrote back, this IP address did access our election night results on November 7, 2016. Kentucky responded, the same IP address did touch the Kentucky online voter registration system on one occasion, November November 1st, 2016. In a letter this week, DHS Secretary Jay Johnson told Kemp the department sourced the mid-November activity in Georgia to a federal contractor conducting what he called normal internet searches on the Secretary of State's website. The problem for Kemp...
We haven't been able to recreate this the way they've explained it to us.
And Kemp told us DHS has yet to explain at least 9 other suspected network scans linked to DHS IP address over the last year on or around important primary and presidential election dates in Georgia. Kemp's call for answers amplified now by the National Association of Secretaries of State. The main challenge:
we have one administration leaving town and another coming in. And so it does remain to be seen just who will be left holding the bag if we don't get a great explanation on what has occurred very soon.
And in an emailed statement, the Kentucky Secretary of State's office told us it believes the IP address that sparked all of this did not attack its system. West Virginia's Secretary of State and the Department of Homeland Security did not respond to our request.
All right, so they blame Trump for what they've been caught doing. We'll be back. Yeah, you want to bang heads with me, New World Order? I'll show you what it's like. I came here to bang heads. All the way. All right, let's get serious here. It's just a phenomenon of trolls, but it's the trolls, a lot of which aren't paid. Some are paid. That's come out in the news. Hillary spent hundreds of millions on fake bots and people out spamming and attacking, and they've only intensified what they're doing now. But we've had a sustained 3-day, multi-pronged, I'm not the tech guy, but we have one of the biggest companies out there that has the Cloudflare and does Visa and MasterCard and Walmart and all of it. Because this stuff has gotten more sophisticated over the years. We just up to the highest level. And they got stuff that, takes down the biggest websites, takes down half the internet for the East Coast a few weeks ago. Remember that? The Communist Chinese came out and took credit for that. And so Friday, they attack InfoWars, they attack Prison Planet, they slow them down. Then they start attacking the shopping carts, completely shut them down off and on. And so we talk to folks, they go, yeah, this is a state-level attack Saturday. And then they go, yeah, it tends to be China when they just hit the U.S. like this. We've been critical of China. And we said, yeah, so we think it's China. It points towards them. They take credit for most of these. They admit almost all these big ones are China. We have those news articles we can put on screen. In fact, just from last month, where China, quote, takes credit for shutting down the internet on part of the East Coast. We can put that up from like PC World. We showed it yesterday. Chinese firm admits it hacked DVRs, cameras were behind Friday's massive DDoS attack. There you go. So that's what goes on. And then I see some of the commenters going, show us your server logs. If this was serious, InfoWars would be down. So shut the F up, Alex. We don't have server logs. We're on thousands of servers on clouds, Dumbo. It's not like the website's on a single server, because you've got your little blog that 5 people a day visit. See, I don't want to, here's the thing, I never bragged how big we were, but there's this weird paradigm, like people ask me on the street, do you have a day job? Well, no, I have 60 plus employees, and we reach billions of people a year, and we're number 60-something, depending on which web system you look at, number 80 on the internet. We're bigger than the Wall Street Journal and New York Times online. Does the New York Times have a day job with its thousands of employees? It's like this little mental illness where they pretend you're not successful. You're like walking up to the guy that wins the Grand Prix and going, hey, do you race golf carts? Are you going to race professionally someday? You don't put down the driver when they pop champagne. They're like, who's this neurotic mental patient? Get away from me. We're here changing the world under globalist attack. Massive censorship's being announced. The Chinese are running it. It's epic. We're leading the charge to fight it. OnlyDrudgeReport.com even links to our articles. There's a vacuum of no news on this. And they're trying to get it through this Christmas. You watch. They've already passed it in the House and Senate. It's in conference. 2 different bills to end free speech. They're already announcing Snopes to run Facebook. Reddit's already shadow banning our stuff. We're being kicked off. Breitbart's being kicked off its apps it paid for that were approved over a year ago. We're under attack. Books are being burned, historically, in the modern sense. And you're busy. I love losers always go, I bet that guy's off air sooner. That guy's a loser. They always talk about some winner and call him a loser because they're obsessed by somebody being a winner. You simulate someone's a loser. I'm a giant winner with this attack. We're going to publish all this stuff. It's going to be in newspapers everywhere, like everything we do is. We just win, win, win. We're Americans, dirtbags. Get used to it. Now, Jordan Maxwell, a real treat's going to join us via video Skype. If you're a radio listener, you can always go to Infowars.com/show and find the free video feeds, the free podcast, the Android and iPhone apps, and more. Until, I guess, they kick us off those platforms like they've done Breitbart. They are now openly in Politico and in the New York Times and every other publication, basically, calling for us to be silenced. They've appointed a mail-order diploma company with 6 employees in Florida and the Snopes couple that has a big fat cat. So I'm serious. So that means they will decide what you can visit online via Google or Facebook. It's all being announced. So it's an incredible time. They've even taken Ted Koppel out of deep freeze, out of his cryogenic toupee, and had him come out and attack me. Ted Koppel, Alex Jones spreading the manure that fertilizes conspiracy theories. all over the internet. And I love it. I grew up watching Ted Koppel on Nightline like he was the biggest genius in the world. But I got to be honest. Ted Koppel did not air fake edited audio tapes of me saying Hillary cuts up children and rapes them under a pizzeria. I was talking about her literally funding the jihadis to kill people in Syria. And then they know in the 1 minute, 18-second clip, I say that, they edit it together. This is criminal. My lawyers, not just civil, when you're lying about somebody like that to get them hurt, there can be criminal penalties. But again, I should be very, very proud of this because it means we're having a big effect. I'm on the opposite of a power trip. If I'm bouncing off the walls, as their energy level against us intensifies, God just gives me more energy. That's the way the universe works. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. To have the communist Chinese, that's who our top people believe it's pointed towards. It's a state sponsor. Because if it's the U.S. doing it, it's totally illegal. And the Chinese have taken credit for these exact type of attacks in October. And I showed that PC World article, and it appears to be their handiwork. But they don't want to say that, obviously. But China takes credit for a lot of this stuff, so we'll see if they do in the next few weeks. It's the second biggest they've ever seen. The FBI is obviously involved. Then I don't mean just the FBI is like very interested because this is unprecedented. Close to a terabyte a second. Doesn't mean our servers have been penetrated. This is not a hack in that sense. It's denial of service using your hijacked computers and hijacked other computer systems. So that's why we're extending free shipping this entire week. It was going to end today. 50% off colloidal silver and up to 30% off on everything else until everything sells out. It's the end of year. But again, we go into the black generally in the middle of December. It's that last week where you get 5-6 times the orders you normally do in a day that allows us to have extra money in the new year to hire new people or to expand. They have hit us. It's over now $100,000 in loss in 4 days since this began, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, yeah, Monday, because the sites are up and down. It's very sustained. And again, these attacks are so huge that they can virtually turn on 10,000 servers. And yesterday they went, look, we got over 1,000 servers in big cloud systems. Nothing's ever beaten this. There's no reason to go bigger. They said, if it beats this, it's the biggest ever. Today it went down again. And they're like, okay, we'll go 1,000. So it's a major government sponsor. And these guys are very private. I mean, some of these guys are like presidents and things and vice presidents at major companies. I mean, we're talking people that do Time Warner's security nationwide, the people that do, you name it. I mean, there's only 3 of these companies. And we have confidentiality agreements with them, obviously. I mean, they've turned stuff on for us nobody even knows about. That's why I shouldn't get into any of this. But let's just say they've turned stuff on for this that other people don't even get access to. Because here's the deal. They don't want to get beat. If they let the Chinese beat this, everybody's vulnerable. So we're now the test case. I mean, folks have got their s'mores out. They've got their marshmallows out. This is a big party right now. Guys have been up 48 hours, you name it. The big brains are being brought in. And this is all war gamed. This is what this is. This is the biggest attack since October, which was the biggest ever. And it's not pointed at anybody but us. I mean, just in the tech world, because of this, we're going to get all the top hackers tuning in now. I mean, this is like celebrity level stuff. People ask why I'm so happy. I'm being congratulated by all the top people right now. I mean, this is a great honor. They said these attacks are 50 times what Trump was under, and he has a similar system as the same group we have, by the way. Not supposed to know that, but it's true. So they're definitely logarithmically upping things. So we're going to break that down. InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsStore.com. In their face, let's let them know that we're going to get that capital back. We're going to expand to the new year. I want to thank you all for your support. You can also call toll-free 888-253-3139. They only got 5 or 6 people answering the phones here. At 9, it rolls over an answering service that can take even more orders of operators after 5 o'clock Central. But if it does roll over, it'll go over to that group during the day. But even if they're busy, leave your name and number. We'll call you back within the hour. I want to thank you for your support. 888-253-3139 or Infowars.com/newsletter to sign up for our free newsletter so we can send you articles and videos. Even if they shut the sites down, I can directly communicate with you. You can also write to us about the products or make a donation. Because here's the deal. It's hard to crack this nut here. Biggest problem getting this news out is having the platform. We're doing it. We're beating them now. Even though they stacked the deck against us, 85 million viewers and listeners the week of the election. 40 million is our new low, 41 million. They're freaked out. They now admit it. I've got stacks of news here admitting, okay, Alex is bigger than the New York Times. What do? Do we shut him down? Do we sue him? Do we arrest him? Do we pull his sponsors? Well, he self-funds. Well, you call in the Chinese communist. P.O. Box 19549, Austin, Texas 78760. P.O. Box 19549, Austin, Texas 78760. Now, joining us is a man I want to invite back anytime he wants in the new year for 2 hours. He's a hard guy to get on, Jordan Maxwell, and he's been through a lot of hacking himself and a lot of persecution. We're not going to get into that today, but believe me, when you're over the target, it certainly happens. And I just had his bio here in front of me. He's a best-selling author, researcher, JordanMaxwellShow.com. He's doing his own show now, which is great, getting into hidden meanings, the Illuminati, the master plan. And today, he wants to get into why Democrats are so angry, why there's a bigger movement going on around the world, how they manipulate words. I want to ask him, too, because he's a big linguist. It's how they define things. Hillary says you are now the alt-right. Even liberals that oppose her are now the alt-right. How they say we're fake news when they're the admitted fake news. And how we just accept how they define reality. But we're now approaching this point where that isn't happening. And I mean, here's an example of what Jordan does. We're called human resources since the 60s, not humans. You go research it. Under eugenics and bioethics, human resources can be killed. And it's in the U.S. code. So I'm going to skip this break to give him more time. Jordan Maxwell of JordanMaxwellShow.com joining us as we get ready to finish up 2016. He's been predicting the incredible turmoil that's coming, what's happening, but also the awakening to counter that, which the Illuminati will try to take over. But it's always a race. When the Bible says, get behind me, Satan. The devil's always, or that system that calls itself the devil, always trying to counterfeit what the human mind develops. That's why we've always got to be trailblazing to get ahead of it. That's my view. But till the bottom of the hour, you've got the floor. Before I even interrupt her, I will. Jordan, get rolling here with where we are in history. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you, Alex, for allowing me to be on. Boy, there are so many things I want to talk about because everything you said is exactly correct. I mean, we're under attack as Americans. This whole country is under attack. And the reason why is very simple. If you don't take down the biggest guy on the block, then you don't have anything yet. And so this new world order, most of the people around the world have no idea what's going on, so they're very easy to knock over. But America has always been on the forefront of intellectual and education and knowledge and technology. So unless you can destroy this base of resistance to tyranny, then you haven't done anything. That's why they are continuing to attack America, because America is the only country left that offers freedom and liberty and justice for all and all of that kind of ideas and thinking. That came out of the Renaissance. And so, yeah, you're right that we are under attack. The point I wanted to make about well, let me first say that this whole thing about the Democratic people falling out of the chairs because of the election. First of all, you need to understand that all communist countries officially are referred to as democratic republics, like the North Korean Democratic Republic of North Korea, the Democratic Republic of Cuba, the Democratic Republic of China. It's always a democratic republic.
Of the Congo.
Of the Congo, exactly. It's all around the world. Any communist country is always a democratic.
They counterfeited our original republic system, but it's a total joke.
Exactly. And this is why in the book Fire in the Minds of Men, James Billington, who is today the chief librarian for the Library of Congress, this is no slouch, chief librarian for the Library of Congress, wrote a book called Fire in the Minds of Men, in which he explained this whole idea of calling things democratic. And it came out of the old 1840s with the Communist Revolution, in 1848, the Communist Movement, etc. So we need to understand that when you use the word democratic today, it does not mean the people's democratic thinking and from the Grecian Empire. We're talking about corporate democracy, which is actually today called communism.
Sure. So we're not talking about a constitutional republic like ours, the first and pretty much only.
Not at all.
We're talking about a democratic republic, which means a Politburo, a secretariat, a totally staged event.
Precisely. And that's exactly why today the communist movement throughout the world is absolutely elated when Obama was made president, because they finally got a full-blown Marxist-Leninist Soviet communist, old-school Soviet communist regime in America. Now, and it said, even the communist publication said, boy, now it's time to really destroy this country big time. Well, that's what happened. And so you've seen, because I've sent you some pictures of the advertisement for Hillary Clinton talking and using communist terms and symbols. And
they even use the classic communist paintings where it shows her face and other faces. I mean, it's the exact same iconography.
Absolutely. So you need to understand that democracy today in America is not a people's democracy where people matter. It's a corporate democracy under world communism. So that's so much for the Communist Party. And the Democratic Party in America. But you need to also, in relation to words, if you were, and I'm going to give you an example. if you have a two-story building and you're going to put a lot of weight on the second floor, the first thing you need to do is go downstairs, get on a ladder with a building inspector, and look at the foundation of the floor that you're going to build on to see if it's going to hold that kind of weight. And so what you're doing is you're standing under the foundation that you're going to build on. This is where we get our word understanding, because you're understanding or standing under what you're hearing.
But we never learn the basics of things, so we don't recognize classical tyranny when it's in our face.
Exactly, and it's incredible because that's the way we've been taught. We've been taught what to think, not how to think. So, and if you have a large package, for instance, if you have a large package and you want to ship it, you go out in the garage, you get some rope and you tie up the package, and that's good enough. But if you're going to take that same rope and tie it off on the end of a 10-story building and hang on it, then you better check the integrity of that rope before you go hanging yourself on it. And so that's what I'm saying.
And what is the integrity of what we've seen? Zero. And I don't want you to get into definitions, which you're the master of, to get people thinking. But just getting into your first point, what do you make of this whole election? Because, I mean, I want to ask you, why do you think I've been allowed to operate? And then now the attacks are getting exponentially more intense. There is clearly a global awakening happening. They're trying to hijack it. But if you look at Brexit, if you look at Italy starting to pull out, Spain starting to break up, Reykjavik, Iceland, what's happening in Brazil, there is a global awakening to all of this. As world governments announced, they never thought that people would listen to you and I, but they did. They did listen to Ron Paul and countless others. But I mean, I know you're a truist. I mean, you'll just tell us what you really think. Not an optimist, not a pessimist. But Jordan Maxwell, you talk about why the Democrats so angry. I think it's because they now, even at the mid-level, have been let in on the fact this is a great work, a great takeover, and they fundamentally see it worldwide being destroyed right now.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. You know, and they are involved. This democratic so-called thing is involved in Hollywood. It's involved in all of our institutions because we've allowed it to happen. I mean, we remember talking, many years ago about the Marxist professors in universities, but nobody really knew much about what Marxism was.
It just hit me. It hit me. It's always so thought-provoking when you come on.
Say it again?
It's so thought-provoking. Of course, all the communists call their countries democratic. That's a word cooked up by the Democratic Party, which were the Jacobin side of the whole Illuminati, and it's all right there in history, but no one knows. So break it down. Sorry.
That's exactly right. Let me give you an example of how Hollywood is involved in this. You know, the Emmys that we see on television, which is incredible operation today in America and around the world, television. But the Emmys are presented to the world by the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. The first letter in that title is National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, which is NATAS, which is spelled backwards Satan. And when you begin to look at how Hollywood was founded, back in the ancient times, and I've told you this, I think, before, but in ancient times in Europe, there was a civilization in ancient Europe even before the Roman Empire, and it was called Druids. And this is what we're dealing with today in America and around the world, Druidism. And among the Druids, pre-Roman Empire, they're still here today running the world, but among the Druids, there was a magic symbol that was very important to Druidism in Europe, and it was a magic wand. And it was like Merlin the magician with a magic wand, Mickey Mouse with a magic wand. Also, orchestra conductors use a magic wand to play the music. So magic wands were always made out of the wood of a holly tree. It's made out of Hollywood. And once you understand the symbolism, the words and the terms and how words are used, it's all magic. It's all a very high form of Druidic, professionally done magic.
And that's right. They call it lesser magic to hide the name of it. Satan right in front of you. You don't see it. When they see it, it takes them up above you. They believe prophetically, so they have a right to rule you.
Precisely. And that's what I've been saying since 1959 and 60.
By the way, that's in standard, I mean, not the stuff they sell in stores, but real 500-year-old black magic books that, come out of Babylon and Israel. It's all right there. That's what they do.
That's exactly right. This is a very ancient science. That's why today the study of politics is called political science. It's an actual science. And so it's based on the ancient magic, ancient mystical
And the
symbols.
low-level stuff is all trash and garbage and false science to control even the upper-level minions. What percentage would you say, because we're kind of reverse engineering this here, what percentage of the actual controllers would you say are full-on what they would call alchemists, wizards, sorcerers?
Myself, I would say 100%, because I see it everywhere. I see it in newspapers, television, magazine.
So you think a
I heard
large, well, that's what I think
everywhere.
20 years ago was a lower number. So they're actually now moving to the level of actually educating most of their people on what they're doing?
Yes, it's massive worldwide, and that's why people have no idea in the world how big this thing is. And I've been talking about it for many years and trying to get people to listen. You know, there's a very big war, and I mean, you said it best. It's a war for the minds. And when you begin to understand how words are used to manipulate us, incidentally, when you hear people talking about racism, look up the word race in a dictionary. It's the race is a bloodline of animals. Particular kinds of animals are called the dog race, the animal race.
They're getting us to call ourselves animals in the labeling.
Absolutely. So that's why today in the British and American Styles magazine, you will find that the Styles magazine is put out by the government, which has the words that government uses. So if you need to, you know, if you're going to use a word in government, you go to the Styles magazine and see the correct word to use that's being used by the government. Well, if you look up in the Styles magazine, male and female is a word or words that are given to animals. An animal is either a male or female. A man or a woman is masculine and feminine, not male and female. So therefore, people don't know that. They don't mind calling themselves male or female and having no idea that that means in government terms and in courts, that means you're an animal. And so you need
And that goes back again to the fact that we use chattel terms or of bond
Precisely.
slaves that goes back to the Middle East and before, where we're taking all of that basically that was expanded into what Roman common law.
That's exactly right. Let me give you another example of how we're being tricked. You know, suppose you were a painting contractor and I call you to paint my office. All right, you come over and check it out, and then you give me an estimate of $100. Now, after you do the job, you come to me the way it is done in commerce. You give me a bill for $100. Okay. I then reach in my pocket and I handed you a $100 bill, and now you're happy because I paid you. No, I did not pay you. I did not pay you. You gave me a bill for $100. I gave you a $100 bill. So now you owe me. Look at what's on the face of it. It's a banknote, and you owe me $100. So I didn't pay you.
And that's how they get you out of the regular constitutional money into the whole Federal Reserve system, because it's all their money and it's all debt-based. That's why the debt always has to go up. Now let's talk about the election.
No doubt about it.
Let's talk about why the Democrats are so mad. I want the truth. You know, I respect you. Your view on Trump, where this is all going, how it's going to unfold. Jordan Maxwell's our guest, a very interesting and informative gentleman. I'm Alex Jones. Infowars.com. We're under mega attack right now, folks. By the way, David Knight is going to be hosting the 4th hour. He'll be following the latest elector news around the country as Democrats take to the streets. They've got movements to get 10 states where Trump won to give their electors to Hillary, saying that states ought to honor the popular vote. That would steal the vote of tens of millions. And if you cut out the 3+ million votes in California, if you just cut California out, well, then obviously Trump would have won. And there's all the fraud against Trump. Now, again, I don't think Trump's perfect, but here's the deal. In my view, it's not reverse psychology that the communist Chinese and the Pope, who is so incredibly wicked, I'm not against Catholics, folks, but that Pope, I mean, give me a break. He's just out in the open, Matt Maxwell, about that. And the Saudi Arabians, who are pure evil, that is their royal government, and all the rest of it, saying we can't have Trump, and they're freaking out. I believe it's because he wants the old prosperity model of Americana, of Renaissance. We have unfair deals. It's been designed to bring America down. That's well known. That's admitted in the major treaties like Agenda 21 that was never ratified in 92, but we're still under it. So I don't think Trump's perfect, but he's a service guy. He makes money off services. He likes seeing prosperity. And when he sees prosperity being lost, it makes him angry. He doesn't like being cheated either. He's never really been part of the elite as much I know. Now, he's appointed some globalists or whatever, but that's who knows where the bodies are buried to get things done. I care about delivering. $50 billion in Japanese investment day one. He's got us realigned with Japan and Russia now against China. He's really following some really smart people I know in the Pentagon. This is a real attempt at wresting control of the Republic before America's Deep Six, because globalism was sold in the 40s and 50s to end any future world wars, just like World War I was used to get the League of Nations, but it failed. And a lot of good people signed on to it. We're going to send industry to the third world. We're going to give some of our wealth to them, build them up. It's going to end war. But it was all a cheating deal in globalism. Even The Economist admits this, to actually impoverish everybody but the elite and to pick the winners and losers. So a lot of former globalists who meant well are now turning against the New World Order because folks were out there like Jordan Maxwell and many others exposing what was really happening. They weren't all evil. A lot of them really meant well. I've had professors and others come to me, well-known folks, and go, I thought you were wrong trying to take down this great thing we were doing for global peace. It's for the greater good. But I do see, before they said some bad things would have to happen for the greater good, but I see it's not really true. It's all about total control. You're right. What do we do? Well, now that's a bigger kettle of fish. Now we'll see if Maxwell agrees with me on that statement. And then I want to walk through what's currently happening and who he sees to be the different power groups and structures here. Because clearly Trump knows how it all works. But in the words of Dr. Corsi, that's known him for 40 years, he's been basically biding his time, and things are a two-way street. And he's basically snuck up on them now, and that's why they're so scared. Is that true? Or is he just coming in and taking the New World Order away from them for himself? Jordan Maxwell, tell me what you really think.
Well, I like you. I kind of like Trump just as a person, as a man. I like his method, and I like his presentation to the world. But what's really important here is the word peace, because the communists have always used the word peace. What they are talking about, if you look in their journals and read their books and read the Marxist-Leninist philosophy, peace to them means a cessation of againstness, meaning the stopping of being against something. So when you stop being against something, then we have peace. That's what it means to them. It doesn't mean peace for the world.
It means submission.
It means submission. So when you're being raped, if you're fighting, if you got a gun, that's dangerous. If someone's going to be raped and they're carrying a gun, that can be dangerous. Or if they're fighting you and yelling and screaming, then they're fighting the raping. But if you give up, then that's peace, because nobody's going to fight anymore. So that's what Marxist-Leninism in their very publications say. That's what peace means, to give up and accept Marxist-Leninist communism and the concentration camps and the whole thing.
That's like when Emperor Palpatine is wiping out and killing everybody in episode 3, he says, we're bringing peace.
That's true. Because if you kill all of the people who want to be free, then you're going to have peace. Everybody else is just thrown into prisons and thrown into concentration camps.
And notice that's what the Orthodox system of Islam is. It means you will submit. But the truth is, though, once you submit, the torture, the killing, the enslavement only intensifies, because the real religion that George Orwell exposed, whether it be Islam, whether it be communism, fascism, is a boot stomping on the human face. That's the priest of power and sadism. The Jacobins, 9-day work weeks, the world turned upside down, no technology but in the hands of the elite. I mean, let's break down the false Illuminati's religion. Again, I'm not saying the Illuminati's good or bad. The one we know about in Germany and France, the counterfeit of what our forebears tried, not saying they were perfect either, but the Great Enlightenment, Francis Bacon, all of that, there wasn't a constituted Illuminati, but it means bring light to the world. The truth is they claim they're illuminated, but they're saying only they're illuminated because they bring dark to us, correct?
Correct. Absolutely. You have to understand the words that are being used and go back to their reference work to see what those words mean. Remember that quote I gave to you before. It says, when freedom, no man is safe when freedom fails. The best men rot in filthy jails, while those who cried, appease, appease, are hung by those they tried to please. This has been the case in every communist country, and the communist overthrow of every country is that, Mao Zedong did it, and it's a classic example. Mao Zedong had people put to death because they were voicing their disrespect for communism and for the People's Democratic Republic of China. Millions of people were put to death by Mao Zedong.
The Chinese estimate 84 million and say it was a mistake. They kind of locked his wife up after he died. Our CIA obviously declassified in 2004 that they actually put him in power. Why did they kill the people that submitted? Why did the Khmer Rouge do that as well? Why kill like Hitler killed the brown shirts that took him to power?
Yeah, well, because they know that the people who are falling in with them are so stupid that you can't trust them. So if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. So therefore, the idea is that the people who willingly go along with you tells the dictator that these people are so stupid, they don't even know what I'm doing. And that's incredible. They're so stupid. So
that's right. And then a lot of times these Illuminati people actually take those that were their opposition and try under duress to make them join them. They actually respect us.
Exactly. I have had military people say that to me in person. They have, and I don't want to hurt, and I don't want to cause harm to anyone in the military. But there's the people in the military have come to me and saying, Jordan, we respect what you're doing. We don't like what's going on either. We don't. We know what's going on.
Oh yeah, the military. Well, why do you think the military, in my experience, is the most awake group?
It's because they're on the front lines. They're the ones that have to go out and put their life in danger, and then hear the president, being a great peacemaker and given the Nobel Peace Prize. And then you come to find out, no, we got like 35 different wars going on for this man who is supposedly a peacemaker. And so the military knows they've been had. And if you don't know that, all the military has to do is read Kiss the Boys Goodbye by Henry Kissinger, the book called Kiss the Boys Goodbye.
He calls them dumb animals.
Dumb animals just to be used for political purposes. They're all a bunch of animals. That's what Henry Kissinger said. And of course, George Bush's mother, Barbara Bush, she said, if you'll recall, that when they talked about the people being, about our servicemen being killed.
She said, quote, on CNN, we've got the clip somewhere. She said, quote, to steal your thunder, to prove it's a real quote, folks, you can look this up. She said, I don't think anything of their deaths. I don't let that into my beautiful mind.
That's exactly right. She said, why bother me with such nonsense? I don't care about how many people are dead. That's, the president's mother. And that's Henry Kissinger. These are the people who are in power.
Think of the arrogance, because she went on to say, you quoted her exactly, she goes, why would I bother and let that into my beautiful mind?
That's exactly right.
She sends people to die, and then she talks about a beautiful mind. It just shows the total disconnect. Like, they get jumbo jets, but then Hillary tells poor people, and Obama says you can't even have a car.
That's right. I just think it's incredible that, if you don't pay your taxes, the IRS will send, even if you go to the Amazon jungles, the IRS will find you and bring you back and make an example out of you because you're not going to escape. However, with that kind of power and that kind of technology, they can't stop the drug wars going on in Pacoima in California because they don't want to. That's the thing.
Let me stop you, George, because I want to raise questions a lot of folks don't ask you when you're on. And if you'll please come back, I want to do a 2-hour special that we take next week that we then dole out of the show because it's so important. You were talking about government drug dealing 40 years ago. They were having congressional hearings about it 40 years ago, then 20 years ago about cocaine. It's admitted now. They have movies like Sicario that's basically based on a true story. They called it fiction so they wouldn't get sued. That's actually a true story, like word for word, of something that really happened in South Texas. And they admit, yeah, we want it controlled down to 2 cartels from 10. We control the drug trade. Well, that's a fact. Brzezinski's written books admitting that. In fact, the government even runs the key elements of it, the white slavery trade. And Brzezinski wrote about that in Technotronic era back in the 70s. So their argument is we control it by running it. But no, they actually make it bigger. So what's the paradox now that so much of world government and government narcotics trafficking and everything else is now out in the open? What moment have we reached then?
I think we've finally reached a point in our evolution of the human family for thousands of years. We've come to the point now where we're finally at the very end of a critical period in the total evolution of the human race from over thousands of years. Because for the first time, we now have the technology to rip off and rape and destroy human minds, to manipulate nations upon nations. It's an extraordinary war going on between massive tyranny and the protection of individual humans for freedom and liberty and justice. And I'm telling you that the future is not going to be pretty. If you go back and look at what happened in the Second World War, if you look at what happened in Vietnam, all of this is heading towards something that the world will not be able to come back from. If we lose freedom, if it's lost, it's gone forever as far as I'm concerned. This is the last and final battle on the earth for human dignity and freedom. And the people, like I said, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And if people don't now stand up and understand what's going on, we're going to lose the human race.
Sure.
We're not just going to lose America. We're not just going to lose human freedom.
That's right. The globalists now admit, all the top technocracy people from Kurzweil to you name it, say we're going to end humanity. They've been told by their spirit guides, and they run Google, we've got to end humanity, be given the big prize. And then, of course, we know that the top illuminist, Arthur C. Clarke, who took the reins of the Fabian socialists, told people in speeches, no, my films, my books are allegories of what's going to happen, but he made the joke, it's more like childhood's end. We have to consciously give our consciousness up to this devil, and then he promises to, like, upload us to a computer. I don't want to do that.
No, but that's precisely what's going on. And that's why I've said, and I talked to you before, this is a worldwide movement. I'm not a conspiracy theorist.
No, you're not. So let me ask you selfish questions here, because don't get stuff you never get into. I was approached as a teenager by high-level Illuminati, and people can now see, look where we are today, and this is real. They could somehow, through inner space, whatever, tell that I had to be targeted or recruited. It failed. You talk about stuff out of a movie, folks. My whole life's been like a movie, at least since about age 10. And weird stuff before that. I know, reading some other writings, talking to some other folks, you haven't really written about this, talked about this, but I know you weren't a bad guy, but you investigated some of these top societies and groups, and we're actually giving interest into some of the real ones that most folks aren't. I can tell by the stuff you talk about, because obviously I've been told things most people haven't been told. I mean, can you tell us how deep you got into this?
Oh yes, very, very deep, and it's cost me everything. It's just cost me my life. It's cost me my marriage. It's cost me, you know, it has really taken a toll on me. And the reason why is because there's an old saying: you get what you pay for. If you want a little knowledge, then you pay a little bit. If you want a little bit more knowledge, okay, so you pay a little more. If you want to go to college, well, then you have to pay a lot. But if you want the real story, you're going to pay with your life. If you want the real, actual story about what's going on, if you want to learn a little bit about the underworld and the organized crime, then you can read a couple of books and you'll have a little bit of on. But if you want to know more about the organized crime,
You got to go into it.
now you got to go into it a little bit, just a little bit. And then if you really want to know, then join. But once you join, the only way you leave is in a box. And so once you have entered into this kind of knowledge of redesigning human beings, redesigning the whole world, once you actually commit yourself to this kind of research, you're going to pay, and you're going to pay dearly.
And let's be clear, you get to a certain point, even though I've always refused to join them or take their money, you learn the knowledge on your own. You're like one of them, even though you didn't want to. It's the knowledge of evil. You can't, it's like, and then when you say you pay with your life, it's not like they're even doing something to you. You're now in it with them, even though you don't want to be. And you see them feeding on the public. You don't want to. The public's coming after you. And it's just, it's incredible.
That is precisely what I'm saying. That's exactly the feeling I feel continually. That's why I have such an empathy for you, because I know I have spent my life since 1959 and 60. I was talking about secret societies. That's 56 years ago.
You're probably the original trailblazer of exposing the modern Illuminati occult.
Well, I've been doing it for almost 60 years now, and you've got to know.
Were you around before Hilder, or you guys were contemporaries?
No, I was out before Hilder, and Hilder came into my life in 1966 when he put out the Illuminati records. I was already in 1962, 63. Even the day John Kennedy was assassinated, I was going down to East Los Angeles to give a lecture on secret societies and world government when I heard on the radio that John Kennedy had been assassinated.
Hilder's a character, isn't he?
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I mean, he's done a lot. As a matter of fact, there's more to Anthony Hilder than meets the eye. He has been involved in big motion picture industry. He's very well. I know. You don't have to tell me. Very intelligent boy. He's a very intelligent guy, and he put out the Illuminati records, of which I got back in 1966.
You think Hilder's ever been with an advanced agency?
I have my own opinions, but that's just my opinion. So
yeah, that guy's incredible. We got to get Hilder back on.
But he is. I've known Anthony for, I don't know, 40 years now, and he's a remarkable
piece of work. That's what he is. All right, really so are you. Yeah, brilliant, both of you. Jordan Maxwell's our guest. We'll give you his website. You need to visit it today. JordanMaxwellShow.com. A treasure of info. We'll be back. Stay with us. This is amazing. I like him on Skype, too. It's like he's in the room with us. All right, we've got Jordan Maxwell with us 5 minutes the next hour. Then David Knight's taking over with all the latest news, the attempt to overthrow the Electoral College, all the craziness, world government being announced. Here's the deal. They're trying to censor the internet. A lot of people just take it for granted. They're announcing the filters, the systems to be put in place where we would have lost the last election. The EU's announcing it's going to put an army in people's countries that try to pull out. I mean, we're going to World War II level crap now. But it's all done by the media like it's no big deal. And then my listeners are like, the Chinese really said we better censor? Then I pull the articles and people go, wow, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, they're lecturing us? Yes, they're doing things they've never done before to train us to be slaves. We're under massive hack attack. InfoWarsStore.com is back up. Again, it's a denial of service attack. The store is fine, totally secure to buy from. They try to block it with traffic to shut it down. It's back up. Free shipping, I'm extending it through the week. We've got the Christmas special. It's 20% off on our 3 best sellers. We've got a lot of other big specials. InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsStore.com, or call toll-free 888-253-3139. You can find out more about Jordan Maxwell's books and materials and the info he does as well on his website, JordanMaxwellShow.com. We'll also tweet that out. But here's the deal. If they can hack us and attack us and then hurt us, they're winning. So I want to thank you all for your support in the past. These are great products you need. But if you want to make a straight-up donation, and I don't do this really ever. We don't do money bombs anymore. We just do big sale fundraisers. P.O. Box 19549, Austin, Texas 78760. If you want to just call the toll-free line and make a donation at 888-253-3139, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's how I'm budgeting into the new year. who I'm going to hire, what I'm going to do. I mean, I'm already holding off hiring some people right now. We're looking at the new year, budgeting that, but we need the financial support. You're the reason we have InfoWars. And of course, it's the Communist Chinese working with the globalists doing this. They're here openly bullying us. Lots of tidbits here in these last 2 segments that are only a few minutes long, about 3 minutes left here, 5 minutes the next. Jordan, other little tidbits. What do you make of the global power structure? How are things going for the New World Order?
Well, so far, as long as the people are kept ignorant and ill-informed and can't read and can't think, I mean, and universities and schools teach you what to think, but they don't teach you how to think. So unless and until you realize that you need to stand up on your own and start looking at the facts of life instead of sitting back and watching television and listening to people. It's like Albert Einstein I feel like it's like Albert Einstein being taught mathematics by somebody from a mental institution. When you're sitting, you're sitting watching television, people who are crooked, they are racist, they are mentally deranged in what they're saying, but they're trying to explain to you what's going on. And so
exactly. All they do is push race. Like history isn't cool things that happened or bad things that happened or developments of humanity together and how all humans do the same stuff, good, bad, and ugly. It's all, this was racist, this was not mean, this was good, to make you turn into a victim.
Yeah, I've said before, if you were a normal, everyday, average, intelligent person, and you take a vacation, and you go to a city where there's a huge mental asylum, and for the first time you thought you would go visit this mental hospital just to see how things work, and you're walking through, well, everybody in the place is there because they're mentally deranged and they're mentally crippled, whatever, and so but they are arguing with each other. They're ranting and raving, arguing with each other, but they're used to each other. They're used to doing that. So it's fine with them. But when you come in, they don't like you at all because you don't talk like them, you don't look like them, and nobody knows who you are. So they are really angry.
That's right. Political correctness is right out of the Soviet Union, the exact same term. And it creates basket case lunatics with chips on their shoulders running around bullying everyone.
You're right. That's what I'm saying. And so that's why I want to get this plug in real quick. My research, my
Stay there. We're going back in 70 seconds, Jordan. We're going right to you. Jordan Maxwell. And listen, come back on next week. I want to get you on a lot. I mean, I love having you on Skype. You're a hard guy to get on, so I'm glad you wanted to come on. Stay with us. David Knight's coming up with the latest on the Democrats' plan to overthrow the election. Our guest, I want to get back up in the near future, is, of course, Jordan Maxwell. We'll give you his website, jordanmaxwellshow.com. A lot of great information, a lot of great material there. Jordan, tell us about it. Yeah, we need to get his mic up. I'm sorry, we've had some microphone problems today with our guest. Go ahead, Jordan.
Now it's better. Now
Go
it's
ahead.
better?
Yes.
Okay. I was going to say that my original website was jordanmaxwell.com, but that is no longer mine. That was taken over by my webmaster. So I have a new website, and I want everyone to know that. That is jordanmaxwellshow.com. And on that website, Jordan Maxwell Show, I have a research website that I've added just recently. It's called the Research Society website. All it is another website in which I am now downloading all of my articles, pictures, audio videos, stuff on religion, stuff on recommended materials, all kinds. And incidentally, this is important. I have been told by my lawyers that when I talk about certain subjects, I can get cut off, which I have been. You know that. I've been cut off quite a few times off of radio shows because I'm talking about something I'm not supposed to. So I've been told by my lawyers that if you're talking to the public, there are certain things you cannot talk about because you're going to get in trouble. And so but then they told me, but if you go into the private side, then the government has no control over that because government is empowered to protect the people, so to speak. And so this is why I have...
well, I'm sure private clubs, because the elite like that, they've always had a special protection, kind of like towns that are dry where you can't drink. Well, there's a private club, you can.
That's right, exactly. And that's what I'm doing. And so that's why I've started the second website called Research Website, which you can join. It's only a $30 one-time lifetime subscription to all of my work, all of the documents and pictures and audios and
very exciting. When we have you back up, we'll get into this in great detail. In closing, I mean, what do you make though? I mean, I think this is a real movement against global government. I think it's a human awakening. Obviously, it's got some infiltrators, it's got problems, but I think it's got the elite seriously scared.
I think so too, and I'm amazed how, truly I'm amazed how I was talking about this stuff some 56 years ago, and now to see the public finally getting it, finally getting it, I think, wow, it's incredible. Maybe there is hope for the human race if Americans wake up and start doing something with their life instead of just listening to, because there's a great quote that says, "They will find it difficult. They who have accepted the authority as truth, rather than the truth as the authority." So if people begin to wake up and find out that the authorities are not telling you the truth, that's why they're empowered to lie to you. That's why people who are manipulating you, we call them con men, because it's involved in a conspiracy. They're con men. They're just laughing at you and mocking you in their news agency. So you need to wake up. And I'm telling you, I have to also say, Alex, that I totally admire the brave work that you have been doing. I'm just
well, it's our
amazed at
listeners,
what
it's our
they're-
listeners, and it's the crew. I mean, I'm just
Yeah, but it's you. It's you. It's you who have helped give other people the courage to do something and stand up. And I want to admire you for that.
well, I admire you, Jordan. Let's talk again very soon. Have a great Christmas coming up and holiday, and you know, be safe. And it's good to see you in good health and good spirits and back on your feet after I know you've been through quite a lot of stuff. We won't get into obviously here, but it's a good to see you there. And so we'll talk to you again very, very soon, Jordan.
Thank you, and I'd love to.
All right, thank you. There goes Jordan Maxwell. I'm going to come back and just hit a few final news stories and hand the baton to David Knight, and the nightly news is tonight, 7 o'clock Central. That's why we're on some TV stations, some cable stations. I haven't really promoted that, but they're starting to pick us up. A lot of radio stations pick up the nightly news as well, even though it's TV format. Sounds great on talk radio, but over 240 affiliates now. We've really grown in the last year, adding about 60, 70 affiliates on terrestrial low-tech radio, which is great because they're really trying to censor us on the web where we've been dominating. I try to stay up to date while I'm on air for 3 hours, but then a lot of stuff I miss as it builds up. That's why we have the 4th hour. A fresh reporter comes in, a fresh host like David Knight, with the latest and you know, fresh, ready to focus for an hour. But a lot of days I cut into this hour. We're talking about adding a 5th hour because there's so much news going on. In fact, I'm very close to doing it. I have stacks of news here that are shocking and painful. In PC World, in Forbes, in the Washington Post, in the Wall Street Journal, saying, isn't it wonderful? Forbes says it's bad, to Forbes' credit. Oh, you know, the Chinese are like, we told you, now we're helping you censor. We're helping advise Facebook. We're helping advise Twitter. The purge begins. We see the filters go in on Google Chrome and show you where it says don't go to this site, it's dangerous. And Breitbart gets kicked off its apps. And our names are mentioned by the president and by Hillary, and they call for us to be banned. And then the trolls go on InfoWars and go, nothing's happening. You're still here. Nothing's going on. So I walked into David, who just got in this morning, who's taking off some time. And I said, have you heard about this big hack? He goes, yeah, it's crazy. He goes, one of my white hat hacker friends called me this weekend and said, is this you, all the traffic hitting Austin? I don't know how they know because the servers really aren't even here, but I guess they're hitting that too. And so this is like big in the tech world. It's going to be in the newspapers in the next few days, especially if we go ahead and release all the information. This is the second biggest DDoS attack probably in U.S. history. They're saying it may be the biggest. And it's these bots, it's machines they've hijacked. The communist Chinese admit that they're running these overall operations in October and November. And they have the people's newspapers, it's what they're called, attack us by name, folks. So that's what they say. It's a major state-run attack. The Russians and others, when they do it, will just hit everybody and grab a bunch of credit card money. With China, it's directly hitting the whole U.S. because they see us as an enemy. I love how we gave them the missile secrets, the jet secrets. They give awards to their own people that steal our secrets. We give them all our jobs, let them have lower taxes than us so that all our jobs go there. I mean, I'm not anti-Chinese. They're oppressing their own people. The communist Chinese are the biggest mass murderers in history, and our media won't even criticize them anymore, and they're in the news saying, shut us down. And Tim Fouché came in here and told me, he said, no, we're not making back the money that they did shutting down the shopping cart for 3 days and other stuff. So whatever, you know, that'll just, I mean, if they think that's the path to victory, they'll just continue to do it. I'm going to send out some emails, some letters to folks and ask people to support us. We got free shipping. We got the best nutraceuticals and supplements out there. Everybody needs a Hillary for Prison shirt. People want us to fight the New World Order. They want us to get out there and take on the globalist. Well, we got to fund ourselves. We've got to take action. We've got to have the reporters. We've got to deal with the attacks. I'm not bitching, but man, we're your champion, and we are crushing the enemy. I want to thank Drudge for the traffic and support. I want to thank you all for spreading the videos and defending us. But when the rubber meets the road, it is money that makes this possible. And we need to be flush with money to defend against attacks and be able to pay for bandwidth and be able to hire more people. Not because if I don't have even enough money to continue, I got to cut people, which are hard. You've trained them. You want to keep them. You certainly don't want to contract. You want to expand. So if times get really hard, which they probably will in the next few years under globalism, unless Trump can reverse it, we're going to have to contract. So I'm trying to grow as much as I can before I contract. hoping we never contract. And I've never contracted in 21 years. And that's why they're pissed. They are all over the news going, how do we shut Alex Jones down on MSNBC, CNN? Well, you know, I'm for the First Amendment, but we got to shut him down. Ted Koppel came out of retirement to attack me. I mean, I'm in Politico. We can show Don Salazar's article on InfoWars, guys, you know, with Ted Koppel in it. This is happening because we are annihilating them. They're bringing back old anchors they think you trust because you don't trust the new crops. I mean, this is like Gladiator when they bring back, you know, the Gladiator that's been in retirement for 10 years. Ted Koppel, Alex Jones spreading the manure that fertilizes conspiracy theories all over the internet. What, reminding you that they lied to you? Reminding you that they lied about the polls and what's in the WikiLeaks, how they ran the media? They've lost credibility. They've collapsed. And now I'm seeing them bring back Ted Koppel, Dan Rather, all these old faces that they wanted to get rid of because they wouldn't play ball as much as they wanted. Now, I'm not saying Koppel or Dan Rather are perfect, but even Koppel's attacks aren't fake edited audio of me. I noticed when I watched it this morning from PBS, I noticed that it was actually like old attacks. It was actually his opinion and maybe some good points. It wasn't, Alex Jones is a devil worshiper that hates black people and says that Hillary's killing people in a pizza parlor. None of it true. It was actually silly, but it was still not yellow journalism. So that video of Ted Koppel's up on Infowars.com. David, I know you've got the latest on them trying to overthrow the electoral process. We told folks that was coming a month ago. We were conspiracy theorists. See, we're in trouble because we're so right. We're so on target. We're so researched with people like David Knight and Paul Watson and Leanne McAdoo and the rest of the incredible crew, the unsung heroes, the video editors that take all the news and all the material and put it together, and the researchers, the writers, you, the listeners. This is the InfoWars family. So free shipping running now to the end of the week. You can still order the lower 48, get guaranteed delivery before Christmas. And I'm going to keep the specials in until just everything sells out. We don't have a lot of the stuff getting back in until the middle of January. So, again, please support the broadcast. If you want to make a straight-up donation, you can call toll-free. If you can't get on the shopping carts or websites, 888-253-3139. 888-253-3139. Now, David Knight, I want to get out of here so you have some time to break down on all the breaking news you've got. The Russian ambassador getting assassinated. I mean, we know Obama's trying to start a bigger war the last 31 days. Will they try to stay in office? Will they bring in a great crisis? Their whole program is in trouble. So we're in critical times. You know, we've had some victories, but I cannot stress enough, this is the time for eternal vigilance and for prayer. But first off, I came in and said, I can't believe some people don't believe we're under this attack. They're so unsophisticated. They go, oh, your server, show us your logs. We're on giant clouds. I mean, we're in the top 100 sites in the world. I mean, it's not bragging. People still think it's me 20 years ago. Do I have to have a red carpet coming into the office and put on airs, David? I don't want to do that, but it's just like the public still doesn't get we're major players changing the world. Our good listeners do get that. But the yuppies, the trendies don't. So tell folks about your white hat hacker friend that contacted you.
Yeah, and I should explain to a lot of people listening, you know, exactly what is a white hat hacker. Well, they talk about white hats and black hats. Black hats are people who hack computers for malicious purposes. White hat hackers are people who are hired to find ways that the bad guys can get in and tell the people about it before any damage is done. So to protect your system, you go out and you hire white hat hackers to exploit, to try to break into your system. And, you know, it's like a security a consultant. Well, he looked at this and he said, you know, hey, I'm seeing all this stuff going on. Is that you guys? And I said, well, it might very well be. And what he said is,
by the way, this is before we'd announced it.
Yeah. What's happening with this, Alex, is we saw this back at the end of September. There was a massive attack, and when they talk about these denial of services, and I also want to clarify for people, because I had some people say, wait a minute, does that mean my credit card information has been hacked? It's like, no, it doesn't at all. What they're trying to do is deny you being able to get to our store to pull up that website. And so
we've got to be very clear about this, because they know the public's ignorant. They live off the ignorance.
Yeah, and we've seen the Democrats conflate this hacking stuff as well. There wasn't any claim that Russia had gone in,
because they called denial of service a hack. Let's explain this. No one's in the website. It's its own. They're trying to block you with flooded traffic edit just to overwhelm it.
That's right. And so when they talk about hack, it's just like when we're talking about the politics of what's going on. When they say, oh, the Russians or somebody hacked our election, what they were saying was somebody gave these emails to people. What they weren't saying that anybody got into the computer systems. They weren't alleging that the Russians did that. And so they use these terms hacked in different ways. But what's going on is a denial of service, where they send a massive, they just keep hitting the website, so the website or your network cannot respond to the people coming in to try to keep people from being able to access your system or to basically crash it.
And so what we do is we put up giant server filters in front of it that can tell who real individuals are. So then you go through that, and then it sends you to the shopping cart, an added layer of security. This is about as high as you can get.
And what's happening with this, we call it a DDoS, a distributed denial of service, because this is coming from refrigerators and televisions and all these devices that are being connected into the internet. Most people haven't really thought about the consequences of the Internet of Things. Soon,
that's right. Let's
all
be
the
clear.
cars are
They
gonna
don't
be
put
joining into it.
any updates or any software controls on the toasters, refrigerators,
That's right.
smart this, smart that. That stuff pretty much is all hacked now in your house, watching you, listening to you, stealing your data when you order stuff off a digital refrigerator. But also they then hijack it and have your refrigerator that would order stuff from, say, the local grocery store. It's hitting my website every millisecond.
That's right. These are not very sophisticated computers. It's a new thing. So they're very vulnerable to what's going on. And Alex, they're even extending this now to medical devices. That's something that everybody ought to be concerned about. But they had this virus, this malware that came out. It's not a virus, malware, that came out the end of September. They had the largest known distributed denial of service hit Krebs on security website. And then a couple weeks after that, the middle of October, they released this, they call it the Mirai, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, it's M-I-R-A-I. That malware, actually the source code was released. And then what happened with that was they had the number of bots more than double. So once they put that source code out in the open, then people started doubling that on top of these. Now, that can be directed to target a particular website, and that's what's going on right now with the InfoWars store. They're trying to keep you from getting to the InfoWars store or to make it extremely slow or hoping that they can crash the store. That's
and hoping that when we announce it, a lot of people that are internet not savvy think, oh, his site's hacked, they get my credit card. No, they're just blocking it.
That's right.
No one's gotten into it. Now, let's explain. Chinese hacker who tried to steal U.S. military data deserves respect. State media, London Guardian. Chinese firm acknowledges cyber attack. Getting ugly. Muted response to China's seizure of drone worries Asian allies. And then I've got a bunch of news here where they come out openly in the news. I'm looking for that stack I had in a whole bunch of different articles. And they admit that the communist Chinese are running and advising the censorship here in the United States. That's in PC World. That's basically everywhere. I shot a bunch of videos on that last night, breaking it all down. So this is an unprecedented time. Guys, I had all those stacks. You brought them to me this morning.
And think about the fact, Alex, that here we have China, a creation of Nixon and Kissinger, a creation of the globalists, and yet they are the most rabidly nationalist country you can find anywhere. Very vicious in terms of protecting their own national interests and setting up their what's called the Great Firewall of China.
No, that's it. And they think,
they
think they own our computers. They can steal our credit card numbers, steal our technology. The Chinese are incredibly arrogant. But I mean, hell, they kill their own people and sell their organs. The Chinese communist leaders think they own everyone. Talk about entitled.
Well, they are loved by the globalists, and the globalists have empowered them now for about 40 years. And that's the point. They have been the tool of the globalists, making China strong, transferring resources, transferring manufacturing technology and capability to the Chinese for quite some time. They're in a position where they feel entitled, and they are entitled.
Right.
They're going to be given exemptions over these carbon credits and carbon taxes that we don't have.
That's right. They're allowed to steal intellectual property.
Yeah.
They're allowed to have no environmental standards. They've been chosen as the chosen ones because they're good little technocrat commies. David, I'm going to hand the baton to you. Bottom line, folks, you can call and order. You can go to the P.O. Box. We need your support. We need your prayers. We have great products that if you're not using Super Male or Super Female or X2 or our colloidal silver that's 50% off right now, it's just crazy. Try these products. Only a fraction of the listeners ever actually support us. And if you would, we could just do so much more. So I want to thank those that have supported us and encourage those that haven't to call us, 888-253-3139. If it goes to voicemail, because we're getting a lot of calls, simply leave your name and number. We'll call you right back, 888-253-3139, or write to P.O. Box 19549, Austin, Texas 78760. P.O. Box 19549, Austin, Texas 78760. I want to thank you all for your support, and the White Hat hackers over the years have given us so much advice and helped us, and the White Hat hackers that obviously run the big companies that we work with that happen to be listeners that have given us a lot of discounted services and things over the years and given us access to things that, quite frankly, folks don't even know exist. So that's why we're still up and running, so we want to thank all of them as well. David Knight, thank you.
Thank you, Alex. And I'm going to talk about the Electoral College. We're seeing that Donald Trump is getting very, very close. I'll have to look at the updated total right now, but before I came over here, he was estimated about 240 of the 270 that he needs. We're going to have these states going to be phoning this in as they go along. Each of them are holding their own meetings to essentially ratify what the voters did, and that's the key. And we're going to talk about what's going on with the Electoral College, because what's happening is there is a long game that's going on here. It's not just that the progressive left is trying to discredit Donald Trump. Yes, they are. But they're also trying to change our Constitution, and we should be very wary of that. The person who is behind this, the strongest, the hardest, this Harvard professor, Lawrence Lessig, is also the leader of the Constitutional Convention, as New American points out, and that's something we should all be very concerned about. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some interesting news in terms of some of the people who voted on this. Do you realize that some of the electors were in New York were standing governor Andrew Cuomo and standing New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio, they were electors in the state of New York, as well as former Bill Clinton, okay, former President Bill Clinton. He's still Bill Clinton. He's just a former president. But think about that. Out of their 29 members, 3 of them were high-hitting Democrat members, and that's about 10%, folks. That's not what Hamilton had in mind, and I'm going to tell you about that. But meanwhile, at the same time, a person who was selected by the Trump campaign, a state representative in Ohio, was forced to step down from her post so that they would not have a lawsuit go forward, so there would not be a cloud over the election. She stepped down from her position as an elector because they had people saying, well, you can't be a state representative and be an electoral college elector. And yet in New York, we've got the current governor, the current mayor of New York City, and the former president, Bill Clinton, who I guess he's a New York resident now. I guess he's ashamed to go back to Arkansas. He should be. I would hope that they would run him out of town on a rail. But that's kind of interesting. We can take a look at that and some of the other things and the big picture as Donald Trump is closing in on this final formality. But before we get to that, I want to point out the way the mainstream media has already been censoring the news and censoring the campaign. This is a very interesting story from the Independent Journal Review. They point out, and this is a super PAC lawyer that supported Trump, he says CBS censored our TV ads to help Hillary Clinton. Now, understand that when we talk about all this narrative about how somebody hacked the election against the Democrats, what they're saying is that somebody, whether it was the Russians, whether it was people inside the NSA or the intelligence services, as William Binney believed that it was, whoever did it, did us a great service. Because what they did was by showing us those emails, they showed us how the DNC worked with the establishment media in collusion to deceive people during the primaries, and they showed us the real criminal background of Hillary Clinton. So what they did was they told us the truth about Hillary. That's what they're so mad about. How dare you tell us the truth about this criminal? Because that'll make her lose the election, and it did. It did. So whoever did it deserves a vote of thanks from the American people for exposing the truth about Hillary. That's not hacking an election. They want to imply, and I think part of this is they piggyback this to begin this right after Jill Stein collapsed. What she was saying was, we need to look at this and make sure somebody didn't rig the machines or do something with the actual vote totals. That would be election fraud. They said, we want to look at this and make sure somebody didn't hack the machines. That put it in people's minds, just as we're talking about with this denial of service. People don't really understand. They say, uh-oh, computers have been compromised. That means that this could happen or that could happen. You have to understand what's being talked about. A denial of service shuts down your access to a website. It doesn't get information out of that website. In the same way when they said they hacked the election, they weren't saying that they went in and manipulated the machines. What they were saying was public opinion was manipulated when people exposed the truth about Hillary Clinton. Now, what did CBS do? They say 2 weeks before the election, for the first time, Trump began spending more on TV ads than Hillary Clinton did. So he waited to the very end. He had a lot less money. He waited to the very end. Then he was doing a push. Part of that push was money that was being spent on his behalf from some super PACs who also were putting this stuff in at the last minute. They said Future 45, Super PAC, and 45 Committee Policy Education Organization that opposed Hillary supported Trump put in a lot of ads at the very last minute. When a campaign sponsors advertising, says the Independent Journal Review, the stations carrying those ads are subject to the FCC's must-carry provisions. They cannot legally censor the content of candidate advertising. So if you're a candidate, and you see that at the end, I'm so-and-so and I paid for this ad. If you do that, they can't censor your content. However, if you are a friendly organization to the candidate, you're not controlled by the candidate, if you're a super PAC or a 501c organization and you run independent advertising, then the FCC provisions do not have must carry. In other words, they can put out a cease and desist letter to the stations and say, don't run this if you're carrying this advertisement. Now, what they typically do to follow protocol is they give these organizations a chance to respond if somebody thinks that it's factually wrong. They didn't do that. Instead, the people who run these PACs who put in a $30 million buy said instead of following protocol, CBS took it upon itself to get into Clinton's corner and play censor to her critics as the network unilaterally yanked the committee's purchased ads, about $30 million, from circulation during 60 Minutes and its popular Sunday primetime lineup. CBS violated long-standing protocol, took these measures without allowing supporters of Donald Trump to provide any response to Clinton's frivolous cease and desist letter or to provide substantiation for their ads. So they basically didn't. Clinton's campaign complained about it. They didn't come back to these people and say, well, she says it's factually incorrect. They didn't give them a chance to respond. They just pulled it all, network-wide. And so that is how they can use this to censor people. And you have to ask yourself, if that's what they will do in an election, what are they going to do? The free press all the time? Well, we know what they're going to do. And we know that they have funded the State Department with $160 million to act as a ministry of truth to vet what is true, what is not true. And as Facebook has said, they're going to use Snopes, 2 people on a couch with a cat, and the Poynter Institute in St. Petersburg, one little building with 6 faculty members, and they're going to vet you for fairness and nonpartisanship. And the very first person, very first group on there was ABC News. Oh, okay, we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight. We're going to take a look at what's going on with the Electoral College. They're turning in the votes state by state right now. As of about 20 minutes ago, ABC News said that Arizona and Missouri had just turned theirs in, and that brings Trump to 245 of the 270 that he needs. I believe that's not including Texas yet, so that would put him well over the 270 that he needs. Of course, according to the popular vote and the states that were won by Donald Trump, he has 306 electoral votes. But now there's been, as you know, you've been following this, the faithless elector movement. They also call themselves Hamilton electors. That's a total piece of fraud. If you go back and you look at what Alexander Hamilton said in the Federalist Papers, and a lot of people just let them get away with using the Founding Fathers as a beard without even going back and reading what he wanted them to do. And we're going to take a look at that. But one of the first pieces of news that I want to take a look at is coming out of Maine. We have a Maine elector saying he's going to vote for Bernie Sanders. Now, this is a Democrat. And, of course, state by state, the electors, if Hillary won, they're all going to be Democrats. If Trump won the state, they're all going to be Republicans. So it's very rare for them to cross a party line. In other words, for a Republican to vote for a Democrat or a Democrat to vote for a Republican. We did have that happen. The last time that happened was back in the early 70s. There was a Republican elector that crossed the line and voted for the Libertarian candidate that year. But for the most part, the most recent time that happened, we had one person defect back in 2004. I think that was Kerry, that was a Democrat candidate back then. But they voted for John Edwards, did it somewhat anonymously. Nobody ever acknowledged who that was that did it. But this Maine elector, and this is what I thought would happen. I thought there would be a lot of people who are frustrated with the way the DNC hacked the election. Now, they're the people who really did hack the election, the DNC. I thought there'd be a lot of Democrat electors who are angry at how the DNC hacked the election that would switch and vote for Bernie Sanders. Now, this is one person in Maine who is saying that he's going to do it. He put this on a statement posted on Facebook today. And then we have the situation in New York that I pointed out in the last segment, where they've got 29 electors going to the Electoral College, and that includes Governor Cuomo, Mayor de Blasio, and former Bill Clinton. So more than 10% of their members of the Electoral College are high-hitting Democrats and people who are in office right now. Whereas in Ohio, we just had a Republican elector step down because of a lawsuit. She didn't want to tie this up. Her name was State Representative Christina Hagan. She was selected by the Trump campaign as an elector long before the election. After a weekend lawsuit, she told the Columbus Dispatch that she decided to step down to ensure that Monday's vote goes smoothly. They had argued that the Ohio Constitution restricts members of the legislature from holding any presidential, state, or local office, and that the court considers presidential electors to be a state office. She said, "I did not step down due to the liberal left's lawsuit. I stepped down to ensure that they did not slow the process of electing the president in any way." Now, if you look at this and you look at what's going on in New York, understand that the election are really run on a state-by-state basis. Going back to a 1952 Supreme Court decision, the Supreme Court said that the states will determine how the elections are going to be run. They get to pick whether we use voting machines or whether we use hand ballots. They get to pick which voting machines are used. They get to certify the elections. They're the ones who conduct the recounts, if there's any question about that. Then once they certify that election, then you have congressmen go to Washington or senators go to Washington, or you have the Electoral College. I think that's where it ought to stop. I think at that point, we don't need the human element at this point anymore. What we need is we need to send that vote total. We have the state Board of Elections look at the election and certify it. And once they certify it, then you send a vote total. Say, New York, we've got 29 votes in the Electoral College. Here's our 29 votes as certified by the election. Now, the other thing you can do is what they did in North Carolina. You can put in a mechanism that says that the electors will vote according to the what the election of the general population did. And if they choose to ignore that, then they get a $500 fine in North Carolina and they get replaced by somebody else. So you need to do something to get around this kind of backroom rigging of the system that we saw during the primaries by the Republicans, these never-Trumpers who said Trump would go into a state, he would win the state, and then Ted Cruz would come along and they'd have another election that the general public was not involved in. It was just part of that little club, that little political cabal, which is what the Founding Fathers would call these political parties. They would have their own little secret election, and then somebody else would win that. See, when a candidate wins, They ought to be able to pick those electors. So that if you have a situation where you go to a brokered convention because there's multiple candidates, more than 2 candidates, and nobody has the majority of votes, you ought to at least have people who are going to be representative of what the voters chose. So if you have a winner-take-all state, then the winner gets to choose all of those delegates. If you have a state where the delegates going to the political convention were allocated proportionally, then you ought to have candidate A get 60% and candidate B get 40%, if that's the way the votes were split. Then that way, if there's no clear winner on the first or second or third ballot, then at least those people who are going to be reflecting what the people voted for. And that's the real issue. If you go back to the original intent, if you read what Alexander Hamilton was saying in the Federalist Papers where he talked about an electoral college, he wanted to avoid cabals and intrigue. He wanted to do anything possible to stop from having tumult and disorder. Those are his words. That's not my phrases, okay? Cabals, intrigue, tumult, disorder. That was what he was talking about. What have they done? We've got a situation where in this secret process that is not available to the public, I never saw Chris Suprin, the guy who says here in Texas that he's going to not vote for Trump. I never saw his name on a ballot. I didn't vote for him. There are 4.7 million people that voted for Donald Trump here in Texas, and he's going to say, I don't really care. I know better than you. Well, quite frankly, he doesn't. He has one opinion, and he is not he doesn't have any information that the rest of us had. As a matter of fact, if you look at his editorial, he doesn't really have a substantial reason to vote against Donald Trump. He is somebody who, by the way, all the stuff that broke on Friday about his background and whether or not he is a stolen valor firefighter. If you remember the story, we reported it. It was a Dallas station. I think it's WFA's the call letters. They investigated him because everything about this man is about being a first responder to 9/11. He said he was there at the Pentagon, that he was in Virginia, with one of the Virginia fire stations that went to the Pentagon. And yet they saw that he had joined a fire station 1 month after. And the people that were there said, not only did he join us a month after September 11th, but we didn't even go as a fire department to the Pentagon to fight that fire. So they put that out there. They contacted him for information. And what did they get back? Crickets, just like I got back. I wanted to interview him, not about his background. I wanted to interview him about what he thought gave him the authority to overturn the election of that we had here publicly. I don't think that he has that authority. Nevertheless, he came back and said, well, no, I was working for a different fire department. And then they did an update from WFAA. They said, well, we went to his LinkedIn page. We looked at his lengthy resume, which went to several pages, and we didn't see anything at all about him being affiliated with another fire department that went to that fire, and we cannot get any information from him. So now he's saying that he was with a fire department prior to that, even though that shows up nowhere in his lengthy resume. Now, this is the way Politico reports this, and this is the way they smear the information, or they, because Politico is heavily pro-Hillary, pro-Democrat, and heavily biased against Donald Trump. So this is the way they reported it. They said on Friday, a Texas television station ran a story accusing Suprin of inventing his 9/11 role, the story that Suprin built his career around. So far, so good. So far, that's true. Then they say the charge, based on a discrepancy with Suprin's LinkedIn page, featured an anonymous former colleague accusing Suprin of stolen valor. Suprin has vehemently denied the story. And that's where they leave it. They don't tell you that they went back and they checked with the fire department. They checked with their records. And yeah, he wasn't with the fire department. The fire department wasn't there. And that was the only one that was in not only his LinkedIn page, but also his lengthy multi-page resume that he put up there. And of course, there were other character issues with Chris Suprin. And now he is saying that he's going to vote against Donald Trump. It really doesn't matter at this point, but it highlights that we do need to make some changes in it. But understand that there is a long-term game in this. These people are seeking not only to undermine Donald Trump's legitimacy, and that's what is the immediate goal in all this, but they also want to undermine the Constitution and the Electoral College itself. And as one of the articles up on the Drudge Report points out, California and what happened in this election is the best argument for having the Electoral College. As Alex Jones mentioned, the margin that they say that she has with the electoral vote, about 2.5 million, that all comes from California. If you were to remove California and you were to remove New York with a 1.7 million more voters in New York that voted for Hillary than voted for Donald Trump, then Donald Trump would have won the popular vote by 2 million votes. You understand how that works? And so you've got essentially two states, New York and California, that by themselves, even in this system, can almost wipe out everything that everybody else has. And as I pointed out at the very beginning of this, all of these qualifications, who even gets to be an elector at the Electoral College, is decided at the state level. It's going to be state government that will look at any recounts, that will certify an election. So if you have corruption in Chicago, for example, and they're able to pad the votes in Chicago, the Electoral College gives you a firewall for that kind of corruption. It also gives you a firewall from the concentration of power in the hands of just a couple of populous states who themselves are driven by just a couple of cities. In most cases, a single city in each state that runs that entire state. Like in New York, you got New York City that's running it. So that's really the long-term goal. And the goal of the electors was to try to divorce this whole thing from the political establishment. And what they put into the Constitution, they said no senator, no representative, or person holding an office of trust or profit under the U.S. shall be appointed an elector. See, I would think, I was very surprised to see somebody like former President Bill Clinton. I was very surprised to see the sitting governor of New York be included as an elector, because I guess if you read this, they're saying nobody who is a federally elected politician would be an elector. And yet what we see happening is a violation of the intent, so that the cabals, these political parties that have made sure that we only have two political parties, nobody else is allowed to participate. And we have seen shameful things from both the Republicans and the Democrats throughout the primaries. I have never in my life seen these kinds of moves to try to overturn a popular election like we did with the Never-Trumpers going into the Republican convention, like we saw with the collusion with Hillary Clinton and the Democrats, giving her questions to town hall meetings, giving her questions to debates in advance, but also working with her, letting her review the articles, having her send them information, and essentially acting as her press release, not as the press. But we also saw the way the Democrat Party worked together to keep Bernie Sanders from getting in. So we saw tremendously corrupt cabals. That's the only way to describe them. That's what the founders understood. They were cabals. We saw this in the last election. So how do we keep that from happening? We need to make sure that these small groups of people cannot subvert the election after it occurs. And we have seen that. I've never seen that in my life before, but we've now seen that at both the primary level for the nomination and in the general election now. Understand who is behind this as well. New American has an article, a Harvard professor who is behind this most recent effort to overturn the election using the Electoral College is also the person who is pushing so hard for an Article 5 convention. And they point out it should be instructive and alarming that one of the leaders of this effort to deny Trump the presidency is also known as a leader, perhaps the leader, in promoting a constitutional convention under Article 5 of the U.S. Constitution. His name is Lawrence Lessig. He's a professor at Harvard. He has offered free legal counsel to any elector who may face legal consequences by switching his or her vote from Trump to someone else. Republican elector Patricia Allen of Tennessee is particularly upset. She said, quote, "That borders on bribery. Carried to this extreme, the day might come when an elector could be sold to the highest bidder." I would say it borders on election tampering. It borders on a conspiracy to commit election fraud. And these are the types of people who are calling for a constitutional convention. And I understand there's some good conservatives who are also think that this would be something that would be an easier way to amend the Constitution. They're calling for a constitutional convention. I think that is a very dangerous thing. You have to understand that if they're going to call a constitutional convention, the people who are going to go to this constitutional convention are going to be the political establishment. Do you really want the Mitch McConnells and the Paul Ryans and the Nancy Pelosi's and the Harry Reids to rewrite our Constitution? Not at all. See, the problem with the Constitution is not that it has flaws. The problem is that they don't pay any attention to it at all. They take an oath to follow it, and then they completely ignore it. And so the question isn't, how are we going to improve the Constitution? I mean, look at all the different ways that they just throw the Constitution aside. Look at the TSA saying, well, we're not going to give you we're going to ignore your right to search and seizure. You've got them doing civil asset forfeiture on the drug laws, ignoring the Sixth Amendment, saying we're not going to give you due process. You've got the EPA going out and saying we're going to confiscate your property, and we're not going to give you a day in court because we're going to say it's a civil action, just like civil asset forfeiture. They're going to say it's a civil action. We wrote these new regulations, so they're not laws, and it is a civil action. It's not a criminal action, so we're not going to give you a day in court. And since it's a civil action, we can give you an excessive fine if we want to. You know, you can get fined $25,000 for not registering that new little drone that you get for Christmas if you don't register it with the FAA. Do you think that's excessive? I do. I think it was excessive for the EPA to put in, $37,000 a day, I think they put against that guy in Montana who had 8 acres, and he had a small livestock pond that he put on his acres. He got approval from the state and local environmental agencies. He wasn't crossing over his property line. It was all contained within his 8 acres. And the EPA came in and said, well, we have asserted ownership over all water in the United States, and we can regulate this, and you don't conform to our regulations, or you didn't send us the information, so we're going to fine you $37,000 a day, and then even tried to take it out of his paycheck like the IRS would do. See, we have these imperial bureaucracies that are writing the laws without us electing them, kind of like these electors, isn't it? We've got now legislation without representation and even electors without representation unless we fix this. And we need to fix this, understand where these people are headed. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight. And as we continue with the news, I want to talk about what's going on in Turkey with the assassination of the ambassador there. But also there's been a terror attack. They haven't labeled it as such, but look, we understand what's going on with this. We don't need to wait for the official pronouncement. This is a bomb in a Christmas market, and we had 10 days ago, we had a 12-year-old with a bomb try to bomb it. This is a person, this time with a truck plowing through the Christmas market in Berlin. So we're going to give you an update on that, as well as an update on the shooting of the Russian ambassador in Turkey. Before I do, real quickly, we have our Christmas super sale that is now going on at InfoWarsLife.com. And as I pointed out earlier in the show, a lot of people have contacted me and said, is this going to mean, since you're under attack for denial of service, does that mean that if I get in, I'm going to have my credit card compromised? It's like, no, it's not anything at all like that. Your cards are safe. If you can get to the site and place the order, you're fine. And we have standing by phone operators. So if you're having trouble getting in there on the internet, and that's the whole point of the denial of service, they're trying to block you from getting to our store. That's the strategic method that they're trying to do, because they want to shut down the funding of our operation and do it during this vital time of the year when people are buying Christmas gifts and stocking up at the end of the year, and when we have these massive sales going on. So if you're having trouble getting on, we have set up the phone line for you to call in, and you can place your order there. And there's a lot of reasons to place the order. We've got sales running from 25 to 50% off a lot of selected items at InfoWarsLife.com. We have Living Defense at 30% off, Silver Bullet, Colloidal Silver, 50% off. We have Brain Force at 33% off, Survival Shield X2, 30% off, BioTrue Selenium, 30% off, and we have Winter Sun Vitamin D3 and DNA Force, both at 25% off. Massive savings that you'll find there, as well as our new product, InfoWars' new Super Blue fluoride-free toothpaste. It doesn't have fluoride. We tell you, just as you got a lot of these toothpaste, they brag about how they've got fluoride in them, but then you read the back of the label and it says, hey, if you swallow this stuff, call poison control. Well, we don't put poisonous stuff in ours. We keep the fluoride out, but we do add things that are good for you, like iodine and nano silver. That's what you want to try to control the bacteria in your mouth, the bacteria on your gums. Research across the board has indicated the health of your gums can contribute to the development of heart disease and heart attacks. When bacteria infects your gums, it could enter the bloodstream. It could attach to blood vessels, cause you to get blood clots and things like that. It can also destroy your gums and make your teeth fall out. And you don't want any of those things. So if you want good gum health, what you want is things like nano silver that are going to combat the bacteria that are there, as well as iodine and the other things that you'll find in this specially formulated Super Blue fluoride-free toothpaste that's at InfoWarsLife.com. Now, in the time we got left, I just want to point out this broke not too long before I got on the air. We have they say it's a feared terror attack in Berlin. I would say that it most definitely is. We'll find out that that's exactly what happened. They had a truck that plowed through the Christmas market in Berlin, just as we saw a couple of weeks ago, an attempt to bomb it. And this is something that is happening across the board. Meanwhile, we find out that the person who actually shot the defense minister is not just posing as a policeman, but actually was part of their special forces trained by the Ankara Police Academy in 2014. This is what we are seeing. We are seeing systemic terrorism across the board. That's one of the reasons that you voted for Donald Trump. It's one of the reasons I voted for Donald Trump. We need to keep this information out there. We cannot be afraid of the Islamic jihadists. We can't be afraid to say who they are. Stay with us for the InfoWars Nightly News tonight at 7 Central, 8 p.m. Eastern.
Look, I'm not going to sit here and say, see, I told you so, that communist Chinese-style net censorship was coming to the web, because it's already here. It's being announced. The way you keep the internet open and free is you get involved more than ever. Go to Infowars.com/app. A new battleship in the fight. Infowars Live, available right now. We're looking for a crew to man it. You going to sit down and play games and be a trendy? Or are you going to be part of history? Don't sit by and let the internet and free speech be stolen from you. Take action. InfoWars has more than 15 YouTube channels and about 3 million subscribers. Our main channel has 1.854 or 1,854,000 plus subscribers. Now, they've been gaming the system for a long time to shut down nationalistic or patriotic media, saying we're right-wingers, saying we're extremists. Well, it doesn't matter who we are. We have a right to free speech, don't we? As long as we don't violate the rules. Well, now Zuckerberg has come out and said he's going to restrict conservative news like Communist China does, calling it fake news. And Google, that owns YouTube, has announced, and they've done it now 2 weeks ago, that they're going to basically make you click the bell in your notifications. We're going to show you how to do that, or you won't get all the channels that you've subscribed to, and you won't get the videos. Now, why are they doing this? It's more than just censoring. They want you to see the videos that they feed you below and beside the videos you're looking at that are corporately sponsored so they make more money. They're taking the you out of YouTube. So we're in this information war, and it's more important than ever that you promote the videos, that you like the videos, and that you send them on to others. Because the answer to the attempt to shut us down and restrict free speech that's openly now happening is for us to redouble our efforts. We're winning the culture war as true classical liberals that made this country great. We're restoring the Renaissance. So again, if you want to get our videos, so you can make your decision whether you want to see them or not. After all, that's why you subscribed. YouTube's had this since they started 12 years ago or whatever it was. And they're fundamentally changing it so you don't get it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is promoting fake news and trash news and establishment news. It's killing real independent news. But we, the people, by taking action, can break the back of this system. So please click on the bell so you get the notifications and so you get in your feed the videos and channels you've subscribed to. I'm Alex Jones for Infowars.com.
All right, we weren't going to publish all of this, but it really should be a big news story. Not that we need big news stories. It doesn't really do anything to be in the news because hardly anybody even pays attention to mainstream news. But it is important in the history of the internet. We have the folks that do MasterCard, Visa, Walmart, Google, you name it, for their internet security. And the internet attack started against us on Friday, and it ran through last night. And then we just upgraded a bunch of stuff. And they said, it's kind of fun for the folks involved. They said, okay, if there's one bigger, it'll be basically the biggest DDoS attack ever using, those bots that they hijack computers. I'm not an IT guy and go after people. But we've got the graphs, the numbers, all of it. Now they're launching an attack that the FBI is looking at, a bunch of other people are looking at, and it's believed this is the biggest DDoS attack using web bots that's ever happened. And it's pointed directly at the Communist Chinese. So they are at cyber war with this country. That's well known. They're the ones that do most of the hacking, most of the attacking. Now, our sites are secure. They've not been penetrated. A few weeks ago when WikiLeaks was getting attacked and shut down, folks struck back, patriots from here in the United States is the word we got, and shut down a bunch of East Coast major hubs and websites. That was going in and shutting them off. This is just brute force, massive attack. And it's got to cost like $500,000, the experts say, because this is what mafias use, you name it, to activate all these computers, people's home computers, printers, you name it, surveillance cameras, servers. A lot of folks don't watch those, don't know they've been hijacked. You've got to watch them and see if they've been spiking or if they're not working right. And they've just got tens of thousands of those trying to hammer and shut down Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com, and also our shopping carts, obviously. And that's where they've had some success. It's great, though. I came on air last night, talked about the fact that we lost a lot of money because Christmas is when we tend to go into the black and fund new projects in the next year. And so every day is an employee we can't hire or equipment we can't buy or trips we won't be able to take to document things for you. When we're talking about $40,000 a day being lost the last days before Christmas. But everybody took action, took advantage of the extended sales, InfoWarsStore.com, the free shipping, everything. And we actually just about made back what we lost, not quite. So I had to up some bandwidth things and some security funding as well. But we'll just have a whole fundraiser and raise 10 times what's needed just to teach the attackers that every time they attack, we just get stronger, they get weaker. And the Communist China is panicking right now. So I've got a message to Communist China straight ahead. 31 days until the inauguration of the 45th president of the United States. But the globalists are pulling out all the stops, attempting to reverse our desperate move to restore the republic and pull our country out of the clutches of the multinational globalist crime syndicate. It's Monday, December 19th, 2016. I'm Alex Jones, your host. We have incredible news to break down. This is the day that the electors in 50 states are to cast their ballots. Across the country, they are moving to get Republican electors to be faithless. As you know, the death threats, the home visits are exploding while they have Nancy Pelosi's daughter hitting the streets with fake news all over TV, not just Fox News, but you name it, in newspapers everywhere saying, I'm sending people to hurt her. I've called for violence. No proof, no quotes, all lies. They're attacking They're threatening. They're going to the houses. The folks from the Democrats are death-threatening Republicans. That's in the news. Even CNN admits it. But meanwhile, they turn themselves into victims, saying that I'm attacking them. Now, notice, it's the White House currently. It's Hillary. It's the George Soros-funded Media Matters are now attacking yours truly more than Rush Limbaugh, more than Matt Drudge, more than Stephen Bannon. And by the way, I don't want this distinction. I'm always talking about the other leaders and the other great people, and they are great leaders. But a lot of them reach more folks than I do overall. But I put out the counter talking points that are the most effective. I'm the voice. I'm the person rousing the crowd to resist all over the world, and they can't stand it. I've been very critical of the communist Chinese who've infiltrated our country, who are buying up Hollywood, all 6 major studios, who are censoring the internet, who are calling in PC World, in the Washington Post, in the LA Times, in the New York Times, in the Wall Street Journal. I covered it all the last 2 weeks to censor the internet. And they're advising the takeover. I've got the stacks I covered yesterday and more. From Forbes to you name it, admitting it's the communist Chinese that are allied with the robber barons, with the globalists, with the Rockefellers to take this country over politically and economically and through the media. They're hiring former Stasi as well to help police the EU media. You cannot make this up. Doing business the Chinese way, Facebook develops a censorship tool from the communist Chinese. Forbes. So I'm the only person putting out the actual analysis. Just like I had Sheriff Arpaio on your stand, I said, sir, did you know the UN, under a Strong Cities initiative, is funding the police review boards to take over the departments? And he goes, no, I didn't know that, but I know they're taking over and they're anti-American and it's a foreign force. And so I sent them a bunch of Breitbart articles, but even Associated Press articles with Lynch, the outgoing Attorney General, saying we're going to come in and take over departments under UN command. I mean, this is going on, people. So they intended this takeover once Hillary got in to finish the job. But by you taking action and all the rest of it, speaking out, Trump barely got in with an electoral landslide, but lost by 2 million votes, they claim, because of millions of illegals voting. I mean, the numbers are there. And so they're still trying the takeover. And notice they use military technology. By military technology, I mean in propaganda. They use dark propaganda, black propaganda, as it's called, where they go, we need to overturn this election in a coup because Trump's trying a coup. We go, well, that's not nice, Pelosi. How dare you death threaten me? It's not a coup. No one wants to overturn the election. They're all over the news. Overturn it, overturn it, overturn it. Saturday Night Live, you name it, overturn it, overturn it. Meanwhile, no one's trying to overturn an election. That's un-American. But you just said you want to. Shut up, crazy person. Sit down and shut up, or I'll call you names. You're bullies. And so I've got all this incredible news to break down today. We've had hacks before years ago as we've upped our security. You know, a guy got in like 15 years ago and put a naked lady on a motorcycle on our front page. I thought it was kind of tasteful hack in a way. It wasn't anything vulgar, particularly bad. A lot of times it's people helping us. Hey, I just shut your website down. Give me a call. Wow, how'd you do it? Well, here's how I did it, and here's how you fix it. There's a lot of great hackers, great patriots. It's the hackers that have been defeating Hillary and the globalists, the whole WikiLeaks. I've said the white hat hackers and the leakers are the MVPs of 2016 global victories against consolidation by the New World Order. You are the spearhead of the truth. By and large, you know, I'd say 90% of hackers are the best people out there. The communist Chinese and their, quote, dark army, though, are the biggest, most powerful group in the world, probably more powerful than even the giant NSA grids, which have a lot of good people actually working in the NSA that have been leaking the intel on the election and WikiLeaks and more. But the communist Chinese and their president have openly said that America's finished. They've said you'll never be great again. These are quotes. Your greatness will never return. That's in the People's Daily. Ha, ha, ha. You'll never get your jobs. It's China's century. It's over for you. It's all very aggressive. China is super aggressive to black people, super hateful towards other Asian groups, one of the most homogeneous racial groups genetically on the globe. They're more genetically similar than even your average Jew. They are the most homogeneous, racially, quote, pure group out there. I'm not bashing Chinese, folks. Let's just be honest. They're funding political correctness moves in our country. They are literally taking us over. Kissinger and the globalists made deals with them in the 70s. The Bushes made deals with them. Soros has made deals. All the usual suspects have used China. They've allowed them to steal their intellectual property. They've allowed them to have no environmental standards, lower taxes, all designed to migrate everything over to China. Then they weren't supposed to build a big military, though, and expand outside of China. They've broken that deal. So patriots in the Pentagon and intelligence agencies and the general public said, okay, we were setting up globalism for global peace. We were conned. Alex Jones is right. Stephen Bannon is right. Donald Trump is right. Ron Paul is right. Matt Drudge is right. WorldNet Daily is right. We're launching a counteroffensive. We've barely seized part of the country back. They're going into total meltdown. Race war meltdown, division meltdown, overthrow the election meltdown, assassinate Donald Trump meltdown. So we get denial of service attacks and botnet attacks and bot swarm attacks about 3 times a month. And usually it's out of China. Sometimes it's Homeland Security testing stuff out. Sometimes it's private hackers. But the really big ones are very, very expensive because you got to have hackers spend a lot of time putting out viruses, putting out systems to hijack home computers, to hijack other internet devices in the Internet of Things, and to be able to turn those around as weapons. So just understand, when we hit the alarm button, you can believe it's big, because I don't ever do this dealing with hacking. It's just part of life, and we try to upgrade and get better and better. So Chinese firms officially work with the government and admit it's their, quote, civic duty to hack America and Europe and just attack our banks, steal credit card money, you name it. And then the Russians get the blame. And of course, they do it too, but maybe 1/20th. Chinese firm admits it hacked DVR's cameras were behind Friday's massive DDoS attack. Now, that's just from a few weeks ago. Okay, and again, that's out of PC World and other publications. So our top experts are saying, yes, it's China, bot swarm attacks, and I'm not the technical guy, I'll go to some technical guys here in a minute, that are mass swarming through U.S. systems, U.S. Home computers, the Internet of Things, your digital camera that's hooked up to the internet, your printer, your refrigerator, your washing machines. They're all on the internet now, slamming InfoWars, Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com, our shopping carts. We have a backup shopping cart. In fact, I'm going to give you that address as well. They know, it's no secret, that we go into the black the last few weeks of December. That's when we go from just paying the bills to profitable to be able to get more reporters, more crew members, and expand, hopefully, instead of contracting. And there's natural attrition because folks get other jobs or they move on or, they get married or whatever. So we're trying to expand, not contract. And so they know, I'm going to skip this break because we won't be here soon if this doesn't get stopped. There's massive moves to censor the internet. There's massive moves run by the Chinese to shut down the alt-right. They openly, in our newspapers, lecture us of foreign power. That's how pathetic we are. It's how brokeback we are. It's how trained we are to be pimped, to be slapped, to have cultural, societal cigarettes put out on our eyeballs. That's what's figuratively going on here. We're trying to get our fighting spirit back to say no. We have traitor collaborators in our government. So we're speaking the real truth here, the real battle plan of the enemy. And I guess they think if they financially hurt us, I'm going to shut up. I'm going to go completely ape on China now. And I'm going to add more servers, more shopping carts, fundraisers, and I will double whatever damage they do before I stop. And our listeners will as well. In fact, we're not hiring 5 new reporters. We're hiring 10 now. And we're not hiring 5 more writers. We're hiring 10 now. And I'm not buying just more equipment. I'm building a new studio, and I'm going to get on more satellites and more TV stations. I'm going to work even harder and commit even more now because of this. Guaranteed. You can guarantee. I've never even borrowed money. They say at the bank, I've got $20 million credit right now down the street at like 3% interest. How you like that? You can't stop. I've never borrowed money to build all this, dumbasses. You cut one hydra off, 55 grow back. So let's continue here. Our people, I'm not going to list who they are, but they're it's the big companies that do Time Warner, that do Walmart, that do MasterCard, Visa. And you notice the Chinese can take those down sometimes when they want. But that just makes us beef up what we've got. So that's what's going on. And they said if they take down InfoWarsStore.com again, it will be the biggest DDoS attack in history that they've ever seen. And this has got the government involved, the FBI, you name it. This is like one for the record books, okay? It's like, go back to the cheesy analogy of Pacific Rim, like the biggest level 5 kaiju comes out of the ocean. The Chinese already had all our power plants shut down, so we can't compete. They already had, and now they're taking over Hollywood. I mean, they're just in our face, laughing, so arrogant. The People's Daily, you can look it up, they actually said 2 weeks ago, your greatness will never return, you are broken. We rule you now. Ha, ha, ha. They didn't say the ha, ha, ha part. It was just like in a total, ha, 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 ha. I've got I pulled it, the Wall Street Journal, PC World, all of them, right here in front of me. Where they came out 2 weeks ago, I'm going to read them again today, and said, now you see we are correct to censor your fake news. In fact, we should arrest the people. Good, now you see. Yeah, you're a Buddhist online talking to other Buddhists, they arrest you, put you in a prison, take your liver, kill you. And our media just goes, oh, there's some new rules coming in. You're not going to see InfoWars anymore. The globalists know that part of the federal government's been taken back. So they go to the Chinese to do this, folks. They had the EU 2 weeks ago call for censoring the internet. You notice it's now started. So we're not gonzo journalism, but we are the story here. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to give you the details with Anthony Gucciardi and Tim Frugier. But we're going to give you the P.O. Box. We're going to give you the phone system where you can call. We've only got 5 or 6 people here, but during the day, we take the calls and the orders. If you want to call and get free shipping, I'm still keeping that in place. And if you want to get products as much as 50% off, like a little silver, we're going to extend the biggest sales ever right through the week. But I'm going to do something else. I'm going to create a pack of the products that is at regular price for folks that want to call and pay regular price to help fund the tip of the spear, the entire spearhead in the fight against the globalists. So I'm announcing the special now. I see Tim Frichet there. I can see him on the TV monitor of the studio typing into the crew across the street in their building. But we're going to create something that is at regular retail for people to call who want to go ahead and make a donation and get the high-quality products and fight back against the communist Chinese and the big think tanks and the foundations that are being investigated for being behind this. Because our government's known for a long time that certain foundations work with the communist Chinese and have been involved in all sorts of hacking attacks in America and espionage against U.S. intelligence agencies. To understand how close certain criminal groups are to the Chinese, and they use them as their muscle. So again, all they're doing is making us heroes. All they're doing is proving to everybody how important Infowars.com is. Now, they haven't been able to bring down Infowars.com yet. But because there's a bunch of security stuff on the shopping carts, that's what they're able to hit with those extra lines of defenses. We have the highest, rating of online security to purchase. So the sites are fine to order from. It's that they're trying to block you even getting on them. So we have a backup site. As soon as we announce that, they'll attack that. We're going to just start turning on other backup sites in Leapfrog. And just when those shopping carts go up, it is an act of total defiance. Other talk show hosts of the radio show this big would have a private jet in a 20-room mansion. Okay, I'm thinking of downsizing from a 4-bedroom because it's so annoying to have a medium-sized house. I don't care about houses. I don't care about red carpets. I don't care about power in this globalist world. I want to overturn the globalist world that is squatting like a giant succubus on the chest of humanity. I want to restore the Republic. I want to restore the Renaissance. And I want people in China, where they have thousands of riots a month and valiantly stand up to the corrupt communist Chinese regime that our criminal government under the Rockefellers put in power in 1949. I want to apologize to the Chinese people and the Russian people that Americans allowed the Bolshevik Revolution to be financed out of New York City and out of Goldman Sachs. It's a fact. Look it up. I want to apologize for the fact that we put these plagues on you, and I want you to get out from under it. I want to get out from under it, whether it's Brexit or Russia pulling out of globalism or China pulling out via its people. Your communist leaders are pig-like monsters that have been bleeding you and feeding on you, and you have no rights, and the media spins it that I'm anti-Chinese. No, I understand you come from a class system, also a very racist system, because it's always been classes for 5,000 years. But you're hardworking, smart people that need to be free, and I want to see you free. We're all in this together. So I'm not the Chinese people's enemy, okay? You know that. But I am upset about the wickedness and the evil alliance between the UN, the EU, and China, and they all ganged up on Donald Trump and our movement, and we're not going to be stopped. Ignoring Brexit vote only makes the people in the UK stronger to fight. It's the animating contest of liberty. The spirit of liberty has been ignited. You will not stop us. So everybody that wants to call and make a straight donation over the phone, that's fine. Whether it's $10 or $100 or $1,000 or $10,000, wealthy and middle-class people better start bellying up. Like when I paid upwards of $80,000. It was 85, I think, actually, to put airplanes all in the sky saying Hillary for prison to create that meme. Notice she lost. I mean, I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I'm taking the money as weapon systems, as war bonds, as more bombs to load in our aircraft, figuratively, to take out the enemy emplacements. We're here. This is ammunition. So InfoWarsStore.com is down. We'll give you the backup. It's going to be sluggish because it's under attack as well. I said they'll find it. They already have. Then we also have the toll-free number for you to call, 888-253-3139. That's 888-253-3139. I want to thank you all for your support because this is a war. This is what World War III looks like. It's economic, it's cyber, it's cultural. 888-253-3139. And you can, again, call, and we got a lot of specials, a lot of free shipping. This isn't about Christmas now, even though everywhere in the lower 48, you can still get it delivered by Friday or Saturday before Christmas if you order today. They're trying to stop us, again, from funding ourselves and, trying to bully us into submission, and it's not going to work. It's going to make me focus more on capital raising. In fact, I'll tell you a story. When we got hacked about 11 years ago and demonized and attacked a bunch of other ways, I was going to stay small with about 6, 7 employees. Tim Frichet was there at the time, so was Rob Jacobson. I was going to stay very, very small, and I just wanted to be somebody that put out information. I noticed, though, they were trying to destroy me, and I realized big fish eat little fish. I needed to grow because they kept demonizing us, saying we were trying to get big, we were trying to do this and that, but we were failures. And I said, I'm going to show you how you get big. I said it on air. And now I'm going to show everybody how you get even bigger. We're going to double in the next year. We've already tripled our audience the last year, but we're going to double in our firepower, our investigative journalism. We're going to blast our way out, even though we're still dominating. When I say blast our way out, I mean to the next level. So, you want to fight? You got one. And we're going to basically just absolutely go all China all the time now because we're the ones putting the talking point out. Trump gets it, and it is China teamed up with the Democrats to bring this country down, lecturing us through Hollywood and newspapers that we can't have Donald Trump. It is outrageous. We're not involved in your politics. And, of course, everybody knows that China secretly hates Russia more than us. They've had wars many times, and that they're trying to get the United States organized into a war with Russia. So is a lot of other countries like Saudi Arabia. So that's all happening. Now, Anthony Gucciardi and Tim Frugier both work with our IT people. And I think we should now get Paul involved, or Gucci, you can do it. Paul has been responding today. I think he might be on vacation, well-deserved. And we need to get a story out on this with all the details that the cyber folks said we could put out because this is newsworthy. So Anthony and Tim, go ahead and tell folks what's happened.
Well, let me give you an idea of this. Also, we just went to InfoWars Live, and it was down, but because we have backup systems through Cloudflare and everything, you can still sometimes access it right now. But so in my view, this is the top security firm, the internet security firm that InfoWars is working with right now. It's definitely one of the top. No one would dispute that. And they're saying, okay, this is the group that Visa and MasterCard went to when they were under massive DDoS attack. But this isn't just a DDoS attack. That's kind of easy in some ways for this company to handle, even though it was scaling. That was just the first wave about 3-4 days ago in the middle of the night.
It's all exponential. It started Friday, and it's just exponential.
So it started with a massive DDoS attack. And they found a vulnerability within WordPress, which is nothing we can do about that. But then the second DDoS attack came in the following morning, which was massive. They used a SYN flood. There was a SYN flood attack. But the big thing that they're doing now is they're doing a multi-prong attack. This isn't just like, they're getting some botnet computers, like 50 computers or something. We're talking massive, massive scale. And they said that right now this is about the sophistication level they use to take down credit card companies, banks. This is the same group also. One of the managers over there, we were just speaking with him. They said that, so Trump, obviously, his websites and things were hit with attacks like these. And they said, I don't know, but they said that Trump's attacks were nowhere near the level of these. They said this is either number one or number two most sophisticated series of attacks they've seen pretty much in their history. But they said, basically, they've got everyone looking at this. They've got various government groups looking at this. Everyone's checking it out, saying what is going on, and they can't figure it out. But they did say, what kind of enemies are you making? Because clearly this is the most important funding time of the year. I mean, this is when all the sales come in. This is when people want to get their products. People want to get the Christmas stuff. And, of course, the InfoWars story is getting completely sieged.
Well, they know we're the only folks, along with Drudge, putting out the narrative that's true, that they're openly announcing the end of internet freedom and internet censorship and licensing of news. It's all being announced. Soros' group's being knighted as the group to implement it. And no one's talking about it but Infowars.com and a few other sites. We'll be back. Stay there, guys. I want to learn more. Yeah, we're on the march. You see that? We're fighting for you. We're fighting for you. Now, I want to be very, very clear. This country's being sabotaged. We're 31 days out from the inauguration of Trump. They're trying to overthrow his seating in the Electoral College today. Death threats are flowing. There are all these Netflix shows and HBO shows about how great the jihadis are in Syria, the wonderful white helmets. Well, the Russian ambassador was shot dead just minutes ago. This was reported by DrudgeReport.com. It's going up on Infowars.com as we speak. There's graphic video of a, quote, security guard who's a jihadi walking up and shooting the Russian ambassador. Russian ambassador shot dead by a gunman screaming, "We die in Aleppo, you die here," during an exhibition in Turkey. Now, these are the jihadis 5 years ago, funded by Hillary, that invaded into the country and have been overthrowing it. And then when the Syrians and the Russians fight back, our media calls them horrible and evil. Now, the word is I got last week from a high-level military source is that even though the U.S. military says they won't go along with it, Obama's preparing to give orders for airstrikes into Syria, hitting Russian/Turkish sites. If that happens, it's an act of war. And they've openly been calling for similar things like that. So this is all the craziness that's happening. This is the attempt to push us into regional wars that could lead to a new world war ahead of Trump getting into office.